use that.
It was great. It was fun.
I can talk to you later about what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, yeah. All systems go, I guess. We're cooling.
May, is my audio bugging out for you?
No, it's fine.
Okay, because
okay,
yeah,
we're out here chilling.
We are alive.
We're chilling, maxing, all cool, playing some b-ball outside of the school.
Hello, listeners. It is currently April the 15th. Something about China launching a test nuke. I don't know anything about that. But I'm here today with Digibro, the creator of the Neurotyping alignment chart.
Where we're chilling, maxing.
And we have Zen, Huxtable, and Ash Vampire with us. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
You want to go first, Ash?
Sure. I am the co-host for Bay's streams, as well as an anime analyst myself.
Co-host for me.
Yes, a co-host.
There are many co-hosts. Yes. Well, I mean, currently it's just you and Michelle are my co-hosts, but I would like to have a kind of rotating cast of co-hosts. But Ash is great. Yeah, he is.
Eventually,
I would say he's the co-host.
Be a once-a-week show. Eventually, it'll come out so frequently that there will be no co-host who can keep up with it.
That's possible.
Like, I really don't have time to be on your fucking show all the time, May. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Zen Huxtable. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I like using FL Studio. I like doing music. I love animating. I actually started learning Blender. I started learning the guitar, and I started learning Japanese, and I want to make a project utilizing all three of them by the end of the summer.
Incredible.
Based.
You, Zen, how do you feel about the fact that I put you in the new type category on my neurotyping chart?
I watched your explanation and your clarification video, and I still need some elaboration on it before I'm you know.
Let's put the type alignment chart on the screen.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
By the way, Digi, I started watching Steins Gate after you basically said that I just was Okabe.
Yes.
100% agree to a frighteningly correct degree.
How much of it have you seen so far?
I am at episode 9. Okay,
cool. Yeah.
And I'm still following it. So it hasn't thrown me for a loop yet.
I mean, it's funny. I obviously can relate to Okabe as well. But, and I put all three of us in that analysts, like, quick-witted analysts cluster of people who are like, the number one thing about Okabe, and this was funny, somebody argued with me about his placement in the comments, and they were like, shouldn't he be, like, a room brightener? Because what we will...
Oh, by the way, Digi, sorry to interrupt, but the people in the chat are saying you need to turn your volume up.
Turn my volume up. I mean, we are at a very high volume, so I'm like worried about turning it too high. I need to just turn you guys down and let people turn up the stream a little bit, I think. Yeah.
Are you far from the mic or what?
We're like pretty close, and I have it turned up pretty far. I'll turn it up even more.
That's weird.
Ah! All right, now it looks equal to what you guys are putting out, I think.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Digi probably doesn't have his own mic. He is probably just sitting next to me. Yeah, we have like a.
Yeah, we're literally sitting directly next to each other.
This is how we do all of our podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
Which are usually recorded pretty quiet, but. Anyway, so yeah, in Steins Gate, he was arguing that, and spoilers, unfortunately for you, Ash, but we will eventually learn
I don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, we eventually learned that Okabe is kind of putting on like an over the top character as an act to comfort Mayuri.
Well, you turned Zen down.
I did turn Zen down. I mean,
I'm still too loud.
Yeah, even then.
You are clipping your mic pretty hard.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's weird. Okay, how about
anyway, I turned him down. It'll probably be better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
Yeah, now you sound good. So, anyway, Okabe is like putting on this over the top character in order to like entertain Mayuri, and that like he was arguing that would make him a room brightener because he's like doing the mad science as an act. And I'm like, no, it's the opposite way around. He is somebody who legitimately thinks all this stuff, but he wouldn't ordinarily like project this outwardly. He wouldn't ordinarily become this character and like just spew all these beliefs that he knows are not scientifically valid, because it is a character. Like you can see that he pulls back in moments and is self-aware about it, you know? So it's like, I really see it more like, you know, someone like me or someone like Ash is somebody who in our everyday lives does not act like Okabe. We act like that on the internet. We act like
Yes,
that.
yes, 100%.
We act like that around our friends, around people we're comfortable with. We would not be fucking... We are very self-conscious when we're in public by ourselves, I think.
You cannot do the job, the real life job that I do if you are just like Okabe 100% of the time.
Right.
You cannot sell people cars if you're an insane person.
Yeah.
All the time.
And it's
Digi.
Yeah.
Are you finished with the talk? Because I want to ask you something that's tangential.
Go ahead.
So, what was your rationale for putting me where you put me?
So
for the people watching, you put me in the new type category.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that you are somebody who is very open to impressionistic communication. Your communication, the way that you make your videos is so non-lexical. Like the video titles, the thumbnails, they don't tell you anything about what the video is going to be in like a literal sense. There's you really have to like feel what you think this is going to be about, you know, in some sense, like but you know, you also fuse all different types of stuff onto your channel. There's no control over what type of content is posted, and you know, that kind of... There's also the fact that you reject your own speech. You seem to be frustrated by having to explain things with words instead of just playing it on a keyboard. You would much rather just literally show how it's done than explain it. And you have the same trait that Munchie does, where it seems like you talk fast because you hate the words that you're saying because they're not getting close enough to the idea that's actually in your head.
I mean, oh yeah, definitely. And I've sort of taken I've taken a liking to like idiomatic speech, because I feel that, you know, the similes and the metaphors.
What? Okay. Yeah, okay, now I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I was like about to ask, and then you said similes and metaphors. Like, oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel like that type of speech really like it's literally an illustration that is put into the mind of, you know, whoever I'm talking with, and I feel that it's a different avenue that isn't activated as often, and I feel that, you know, I feel that maybe if I just try this thing that if I try the path less traveled, maybe I can get through in a more effective way. Right.
I think, you know, another reason I put you in this category is I rewatched your animation that you did, the one with all the views that the Mason and all that.
Right.
What is it called? I cannot remember.
A meeting with the counselor.
A meeting with the counselor. And it essentially, what I would consider it is a metaphor for a new type and a middle manager having an interaction. And middle managers, as I say many times, like, are the backbone of society. Like, society is run by people who can follow the rules, who can process, who can just do what they're told, because those people are, you know, that is what a factory needs to be run by, you know, and our society is built like a factory. So the part of school that is so difficult for more impressionistic thinkers to deal with is the fact that it does not engage them on that level. It engages them purely lexically, verbally, talking about what your problem is in this long, boring conversation that you can't pay attention to. And even the way that there's all these preposterous elements in the video. Like, you're looking at the pictures on the wall, and it literally says most average teacher of the year, and it's the same picture every year, and it's the same face the guy's making. You know, it's like, that probably is what reality really feels like to you. Like, I can imagine you looking at some awards that literally say teacher of the year and thinking that might as well say most average teacher of the year. Like, you know, and then to just like literalize that in an image, you know. So that's why watching that video helped me even to it really like what the whole concept for breaking this across two axes is because of thinking about my mom, because my mom is a very, very high IQ, like lateral non-lexical thinker, where like she's not very good at explaining things, but she can solve puzzles in a way that I can't even fucking comprehend. Like, she is extremely good at any kind of visual puzzle games. And so, like, you know, she scores really high on IQ tests, but wouldn't be able to probably explain to you why. And, you know, realizing that, thinking about the fact that she doesn't really read ever, you know, like somebody who's smart but doesn't read ever, like, what does that mean, you know?
So, yeah, oh my God. I went out of my way in high school to never read any of the books assigned to me. Because
that's amazing. I actually read all the books and liked them in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I always read the Spark Notes, and I did just fine on the test.
That is new type thinking. The fact that you got the gist of it from literally the gist of it, like you just got it. You're like, oh.
It's like I retained enough of the information that I can, you know, make allusions to it in conversation now, you know. So it's like, well,
I mean, in a way, you're probably more apt to do that, because I could imagine a very lexical thinker reading the Spark Notes and then literally just regurgitating them, and the teacher would notice that. Whereas you might actually just read into what the Spark Notes are saying the story's about and be able to kind of come up with some shit that...
Yeah, there's meat in it, you know? Yeah. There's meat in it. It's just that it's the legwork that I just don't want to do.
Yeah. Totally. That's exactly what I think new type thinking is. I would consider you a very high IQ new type.
There we go.
It's funny that you mentioned Digi watching all of reading all of the books that were assigned to you and like liking all of them, because it was the exact opposite for me. I read everything and almost universally had problems with all of it.
Well,
I got into a spat in my in the first semester of my second year in college, which was the last time I was in college, with my literature professor, because he had us reading Watchmen. Yeah. And this is part of like why I decided that I was gonna not go to college anymore, because he was telling us like, yo, you interpret it this way and think about these scenes in this way, and this is what these mean. And I got into this huge spat with the guy, basically doing like analysis of the stuff on the fly and just not conceding his points and just like analyzing the living shit out of it in the classroom. And it was after that I was like, this is bullshit.
Right.
I have to ask Ash, because this is something that interests me that I hadn't thought about before I made the video. In the conversations I had afterward, I realized that most people do not seem to idolize their own type. Like, people don't think that their type is necessarily the best always. Some of them do. And some people best relate to other people in their type. But, like, for me personally, I came to realize that, like, I am somebody who really, like, hates hyperlexical thinkers because of the fact that I am, like, mostly that way, but not all the way. And I just see them as like being, if they would just be slightly less rigid and just listen to reason a little bit, then like they would be able to think about so much more. But they are so limited, you know? And like,
in my personal experience, I do not like almost any of the other types. Like, the people that I get along with best are the people who are analysts, like fall right within in the square that I'm in. Simply because I can't, like, when I get into a conversation with somebody who would be within that category, the conversation that we have, it just flows. It's seamless. It just happens. Like, there's no miscommunication, because we are thinking about our communication in a completely different way.
Right.
I do not like having conversations with people who do not think the same way, because I feel like there's so much wasted energy in trying to get over those barriers.
I completely understand what you mean. And it's funny how much I agree with you to an extent. particularly like when I talk to Don Jolly, who I also would put into our category, it's like it's weirdly magic how there is no gap in our understanding of what we're saying to one another. Like,
Yep.
and any gap there is can be immediately sorted out because it's so recognizable, you know? It's just like one word I don't know that you said, and I can just say, what does that word mean? And now we're on the same page again. But at the same time,
how do you think a conversation with someone who's on the same who's plotted on the same point that you are, well, not point, but like in the same vicinity that you are, if they're plotting in the same vicinity but they have vastly different political opinions, how do you feel that conversation would go?
I think that really depends on the type, because I think just in general, more lateral thinkers will have much more nuanced opinions on politics. And depending on if they care about it, I mean, and have the intelligence. It's hard. Like when I made these categories, you can kind of tell people have said that they all kind of sound like compliments. And that's kind of intentional because I want people to understand that all of these are good things to be if you do it right. You know, if you live your life the right way.
Yeah. You have to understand it.
Like all of these can be superpowers, but like you really got to understand how to live your life in a way that coincides with the way you think, and that's very hard to do if you don't understand the way you think, which is why the list exists, you know. But like when I obviously I would put myself on the more intelligent end of the spectrum of people who are lateral thinkers, as I have a pretty strong control over my lateral thinking abilities compared to, you know, somebody who might be like low functioning autistic. This is not like an insult to anybody. I'm not saying you can't, live a happy and fulfilling life. Again, you just got to figure out how to work around the way you think. But even if that means, having a system of other people to help you. But like, I think that in the grand human system, I actually was trying to draw this weird energy chart last night of the flow of information, the ideal flow of information through humanity. And it would be that it goes from all the people on the right, the information flows from right to left up through the analysts. Everybody's information gets filtered through the analysts, pumped into the human calculators who have to run the calculations, and then they shoot that information in a beam downwards, down all the way to the bookkeepers. And that's how information disseminates until it has been completely codified, and then it can be explained back through. It has to be retranslated in the other direction back to the impressionists. And it's just like a cycle. It's like a dishwasher of information.
A water wheel.
What is something where it would be like going back and forth and in circles at the same time? Yeah.
Like a cyclone.
Yes, a cyclone of information going back and forth between these different thought processes. So to me, like, I might be a more lexical thinker than most people on this board, but I am not as lexical as somebody who like is very rigid about language. And it's frustrating for me to deal with those people. What I hope for them to do is to like, do it for me, because I'm not over here looking at rigid data. I'm looking at what everybody else is coming up with. I'm looking at the fast-landers, new types, overseers, aestheticians, externalists, impressionists, clear-sighted, pure instinct, quick-witted, understanding, and level-headed people who are all out here, figure out how to explain it to all the other, in terms of, like, the flow of conversation. To me, like, the way I learn things is by communicating with more impressionistic thinkers, because like once I do figure out what
just means that you have more patience than I do.
Yeah, it really does. It definitely does.
I have very little patience when it comes like it's a very bad thing, and it's more subconscious than like that's literally how I'm that's like literally how I'm like going through a conversation with somebody who's farther on the right side of the chart. But that is just kind of how I view it. It's like you can't get it across to me. So why should I pay attention? It's clearly not something that is important enough that you actually really get it across.
Here's a sort of bird's eye view question for you, Digi.
Yeah.
Uh, what what um what exactly makes this methodology so groundbreaking in your opinion?
Essentially, it's the idea that it's impossible to not fall in somewhere. Like, if you really think about how you
I
think,
mean, like
you will
the
fall
the
in
the,
somewhere.
the fucking what's it called? The introvert, whatever the fuck
Yeah.
thingy.
Myers-Briggs.
Like, yeah, Myers Briggs. Like everyone falls somewhere in the spectrum, and like the way that works out is that it shows numerically that you tend to be this or tend to be that by like this percentage or this
Yeah.
percentage. You know what I'm saying? So
Uh, uh,
how would that differ?
I guess what I consider to be the difference is that the MBTI tries to say that like you tend to be like this because you are this way. I want to remove the idea of you tend to be like this and just say you are this. Like you are somewhere on this scale because your brain is formatted that way. Like there is I believe that this, because really what this sprang from is when I was trying to research autism and dyslexia. And initially, I saw people presenting it as though they were almost opposites. That dyslexia had something to do with having longer neuropaths and therefore seeing bigger pictures as opposed to smaller details and ideas, whereas autism had something to do with shorter neuropaths and therefore the opposite, more detailed, oriented type thinking. But there are people with both, and it didn't necessarily make sense for them to be opposites. What I eventually came to think was that perhaps the length of those neural pathways or whatever, length, however it is described, whatever the idea is, the shape of these neural pathways is perhaps different in different sections of the brain, because lexical thought and impressionistic thought are controlled by two different parts of the brain. So if it were that perhaps you have, say, very, let's say, lateral impressionistic thought, but very, very linear lexical thought, because those are two different parts of your brain and your just neuropaths are shaped differently in those two different parts of the brain, the result of that is that you're somewhere on this chart. And it might even be more accurate to create a chart where it's just like you have two brains, place yourself on the linear lateral scale of each. But I'd have to actually learn the science to justify that. And I have not learned that much of the science because neurology books are expensive. And, I learn best through YouTube analysis videos because I pioneered the genre so people could explain shit to me in ways that I understand.
I wonder if you surveyed people from each category, if you'd find that left-handed people tended to be in certain categories, because aren't left-handed people supposed to be right brain dominant?
Yes, left-handedness is considered a trait that is.
Yeah, I'm left-handed and I am an overseer, so.
Well, I mean, Zen, what-handed are you? Are you right or left-handed?
I'm right.
Well, there you go. I have no idea what the correlations are between these things and anything. I mean, I want to... That's what I want to figure out, because I'm sure there is more to the things that make our brains different than just the way that we process information. Again, this is a type chart for the way we think, and I feel like this is fairly complete in terms of just the way that the ways that people process information. But in terms of other things that affect your personality, obviously there are some things that are factors of environment, but how much is neurological, I want to know. And I don't know how much we've actually learned, because every time I learn any kind of science about this, I always hear that it's extremely incomplete. And I don't know if my ideas are
when you're saying how much is neurological
or helpful, or
when you're saying how much is neurological, are you saying that as opposed to how much is social, or what?
Yeah, something I'm really interested in exploring is sociopathy. Because when I think about characters who are presented as basically lacking in empathy, people who are, who just don't care about others or don't perceive others as like a part of themselves in the way that most people do. Like, is that an inherent trait in some people, or is that only a learned behavior? Like, that's something I'd be interested in learning. Like, have there ever been cases of people who like literally cannot be made to feel empathy? And if so, is that like a brain thing? And would that be like a y-axis to add, or not a y-axis? There's already x and y, a z-axis to add to this chart. I have no idea, but like I can very easily see how each of these types of people, how sociopathy has manifested in these different neurotypes. Like none of them is the sociopath one, like all of them, if these people lack empathy, they will act in a calculating and a way that, that puts other people's lives below their own. The pure instinct would be the berserker, the person who just pillages and rapes and doesn't care, the human calculator.
It's just like different vehicles for the sociopathy, basically.
Right, exactly.
Going back to the MBTI comparison, I suppose before we get into like putting people on this thing.
Yeah.
The way that, or at least the impression that I got from the difference between yours and MBTI is that, at least in my mind, MBTI is a little bit too prescriptively suggestive. By which I mean that when people, like, I've seen this multiple times, people get their MBTI designation and then they just begin to act that way because they assume it to be correct.
May, I need you to talk about this. You need to tell them about your school.
So, my school was kind of structured.
Your high school.
My high school, yeah. The principal of my high school had like written her doctoral on the MBTI, just in education and how you can apply it. So our entire school is kind of just
What does the I stand for?
Myers-Briggs Personality
Index?
And I think it's
typing index.
Might be index, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole structure of the school is around this. So when we finished high school, because it's a 6-year school, you go from 6th grade to senior year. Every like Wednesday you'd have to meet and talk about your personality. You have to take the test and then you have to talk about it and you learn about it. And by the time you graduate, you would have like a book filled out about like, oh, this is my MBTI, like this is how I've grown over the past couple of years. This is how I use this type to like study. And you get graded and you have to present on it in your senior year.
Oh
so it's just
God.
like you spend 6 fucking years of your life thinking about your MBTI, and it's like it changes for most people as they go through school. So it's like this is all bullshit if it changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing I wanted to like compare is that,
I mean, is it though?
Well, your chart, Digi, doesn't presuppose to say that. Well, it doesn't induce thoughts of, well, if I'm put here, then I must be like this, and like I must change myself. It literally just is an insight. It is not something that provides any sort of suggestive property to it.
So I'll tell you, when it comes to MBTI, my score did change in the course of like 3 years or something between 2 different times I took the test, between INFP and INTP, I think. And when I scored INFP, which is like the basically means like you're a real feelsy guy who's like so empathetic that it's a problem for you, that like you care so much that it like you try not to care because you're gonna get hurt from caring, like that kind of bleeding hearted person. And what changed about me in those 3 years is that I became a motherfucker. So in that time, I changed to the other side where I scored as less feeling because I am more willing to to basically just don't feel as sorry for everybody, I guess, as I did before. To put it in a weirdly blunt way, but like it was just like, okay, well, if I can move across this thing, then how much of this is inherent to me and how much of it is dependent on my state of mind. And like particularly, I brought up introversion, and I know that a lot of people have argued that like what introversion actually means in traditional Jungian archetyping is not the same thing as what people now think it means because of MBTI. Whatever. The point I mostly was trying to make, regardless of what MBTI thinks introversion means, is that for me, if I am around people who it's easy to communicate with because they're in the same neurotyping category as me, I have no fucking problem being around those people. I could be around 100 of those people all day, every day. I could build a community of just those people and probably never have trouble communicating at all. But the reality is that the neurotype I belong to is very rare because lateral typing is just more rare. Most people, the bell curve lies along the linear end of the spectrum.
It's so funny because just all this talk of like psychological compartmentalization brought me back to high school when I was in the band, right? And it's just my teacher, she told us, God, every single year, the trumpets are the loud ones, the woodwinds are the quiet ones, you know? And so it's like it's so interesting seeing like, and it's the same thing for like League of Legends and whatnot, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, these types of people play support. This type of person plays Draven. Like the assholes play Draven.
I'm almost certain they build these games around. I mean, this is not breakthrough in the sense of I'm saying anything particularly
No.
new.
I know it's not. I know it's not breakthrough.
But like, I think that. I mean, I was even just thinking like, are you familiar with the anime Infinite Revius?
I've heard of it.
In that show, it's basically there's this just giant group of kids. It's Lord of the Flies in space, as people call it, but they're broken into 3 groupings, and it's kind of the A+ kids, the regular kids, and the shit kids, the ones who are like from the gutter, you know.
Right.
And it basically feels like each group is broken up across this grid, where it's like you've got the A+ students, but they all think differently. They're just the smart kids, you know. But like the other kids, they're the low IQ ones. They're the ones who like struggled in school, not necessarily because of their way of thinking, you know, so much as that the system failed to engage them or whatever, you know. And like some of them might even be smarter than the other ones, and they're just kind of in this situation. But it really felt to me like, wow, it's almost like if you built a show around this chart, you know, like just on reflection from not having seen the show for a long time. But like, you know, I think that it is a legitimately reliable way that you could build fictional stories, is like if you want to make a story about community, about the ways that people can bridge the gaps in communication and come together, the way to do that is to make people who think different. And like, regardless of how you understand that, be that through having it broken down on a graph or just innately getting that from having spoken to people, you know,
everybody has
story, you know.
Everybody has their own innate methodology to understanding people just by virtue of being a person who talks to people, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like whether or not they like graph out the chart and all that, like they're still working through that methodology that they have. So, you know, it's like there isn't a piece of media that isn't, you know, doing making some commentary on the nature of communication.
Right. I mean, I would say that, like, me making this graph is essentially, like, the person who... Me being in the spot that I put myself on this neurotyping chart. I'm pointing at the screen, but nobody can see what I'm pointing at.
You can use the mouse.
Yeah, I should use the mouse. Me being me who is in this spot of the analyst's closer to human calculator kind of spot, this is akin to me just writing a novel. Like, is what this is. Like, the same sense of, like, what a novel is trying to communicate to you about humanity is the same thing I'm trying to communicate to you about humanity by making this chart. I am better at doing charts than I am at writing books, you know, like, in terms of how I can communicate information. So, like, you know, and this, having developed this chart will now make it so much easier for me to write, because I literally had hit a wall in writing Kusomega Volume 3 of the fact that I have to introduce a lot of new characters, and I did not know how to differentiate them from one another. Like, all the characters who've appeared so far are either think very similarly to me or have not had much screen time, because I didn't know how to write them. So
When
now,
I was making my comic, I realized that a commonality is like a lot of the characters were just generally pessimistic, and I needed to create a variation. I was like actively sort of add some nuance to their character so they, weren't all the same blob.
I also part of my a lot of my thinking about how to create these types is based on like my friends and the people around me who I can look at and study. And like when I was thinking of, because Victor, my brother, he is definitely on the far right side, very aesthetician thinker. And when I was talking about this autism dyslexia thing to him, he pitched to me that he was like, I absolutely believe that I am dyslexic and it should have been diagnosed. And he said, the way that I look at a sentence is I read the first and last word and then I try to figure out the middle from there. Like, he always sees somehow, like, he tries to parse a sentence as like a whole instead of as individual words. So like, it's really hard for him to read. But he actually writes really well because his writing is super imaginative and he does not try to hold himself to like grammar or making fucking logical sense. His stories are just these wild, insane adventures because he follows his instincts and just like, and they have lots of nuance because like he does understand the world around him very well. He is a very lateral thinker, and like the amount of stuff, like when I read his writing, I'm always shocked because he doesn't write often. So anytime he does, it's always good because he's just purely going into the aesthetician flow state as a writer and letting that be his voice. And like I've seen you do that, May, when you wrote that like 2-minute video right before you went insane. Where it was like the only time you didn't struggle on a script because you weren't trying to like research
I had unlocked
everything.
The full power of my brain.
It was just knocked out, and it was really hilarious. And it was like
it was during the time where like
it sounded the
I
most
had learned
you.
that I could use both my hands. Like, what is that called?
Ambidextrous.
Yeah, I learned that I was like somewhat ambidextrous, and like I definitely
Really?
went. Yeah, I can use my right hand like pretty proficiently, and like if I can like do two things at once that way.
My
So
sister's
Well,
ambidextrous.
that was your theory anyway. But you wrote this script that was like a page long, and it read very similarly to like an Endless Jest script, which I was like, wow, this is like. And I remember just being like, how can you write comedy so well when you have like never written a comedy video before? But it was just like, it just came out naturally when you wrote the way you think, And so
yeah, because I'm just a sarcastic asshole 24/7.
I just think that like any mode of thought can be applied to any medium as long as you understand like how your mode of thought corresponds to that medium, and you can enter the flow state. And like I think that everybody's goal, like what I really want, and I'm gonna make a video about flow states, how they're represented, especially in anime, on this typing chart. How about just like how like maybe a writer who is a new type enters a flow state and then writes this like really bizarre interesting thing but like just nonstop writes for 6 days, or how a doctorate does the exact same thing but for a human calculator position, like a just how different people will manifest their flow state differently. But like once you can achieve that, you can just work so much faster. And that's why I don't make my videos more lexical, because I want to be in the flow state when I create. I don't want to have to like go do extra research and like turn my impressions more lexical than they already are, because I know that anybody who's even slightly less lexical than me will know what I'm fucking saying and not need more clarification.
Right.
Yep.
And
I've had that experience when I'll have like friends of mine like look over scripts that I've written. I mean, it literally happened just last night. I'm about ready to finish up a new script, and I had some of my buddies look at it, and they were like, they are most definitely more lexical than myself.
Yeah.
And they were like asking me these questions, and I'm like, did you even read the whole script? I'd like, not only is this like perfectly explained because of the words that I used, but like I talk about it later and like it makes sense and it flows. Like what are you talking about?
Yeah, me personally, my lexicality is only like when I'm in terms of creating videos, I really don't I really don't do much research or any videos in particular about general media anymore. Like if I want to express some sort of idea about that, I'm just going to make animations now. I'm just going to make animations like
I'm
an
very glad.
audiovisual experience.
And I mean, if you look
It's
at
like,
my chart,
look, here's the thing. I just want to say this, but like the only context in which I make like lexical work now is like when I want to explain a music theory concept. Like that Promised Neverland video was something that stuck with me for literally almost a year.
Jesus.
I was like, yeah, I guess I might as well make it, because like that's a sentiment. Like that's some sort of, yeah, that's an idea that, you know, I can't explain just by, you know, playing the music and be like, hey, look at this, you know.
I mean, it's funny too, because I feel like the way that you could have most easily expressed it would have just been to perform it.
Right.
But like, yeah, nobody.
No, that's true. That's
like,
true. I could have done that.
Yeah, but like, who beyond people who already would have gotten it in the first place would have then gotten it? You know, like that's the thing. Like, and it's funny because even though I love videos from people who think like me, I hate videos that are more lexical than mine. I love videos that are from like less lexical thinkers that are trying to be analysis videos, because I get it. You know, like I can just explain the extra details in my own head. You know, like I don't need you to fill in all the blanks for me. I can just analyze what you're trying to say. You know, so like I don't want it to be. I don't want anybody to try to make their video or any of their content any more lexical for me. I want you to make it exactly the way that works for you, and just let me analyze it. You know, I'll figure it out eventually. But I do, you know, it's helpful for someone like you to guide me. I don't know fuck about music theory, so if I want to have any chance of understanding what is happening in the music I listen to, I need your videos. And like your videos are just the exact perfect balance for someone like me to be like, all right, I think I got it. You know, I think I understood what he was saying.
Right. And I definitely want to add like visual elements, because like it makes it markedly easier for me. And I don't know like what the translation will be like for other people, but like just having it there, it's like, you know, at the very least, I could say that I tried making it more accessible for someone.
Yeah. I mean, I do make like you know, on some level I try to make my videos more accessible, but like it's really funny because my idea of what accessibility is has been massively shifted by this chart, because now I understand that accessibility means something different to every single one of these categories. And I think that impressionistic thinkers are by and large lurkers, not as likely to comment unless it's with a meme or a shit post or something short and pithy, or just their general thoughts on the video. Like, they're not going to leave you a long, detailed, analytical comment about why you're wrong. When you get comments about why you're wrong, it's from people who are very lexical. And so, from my perspective, it's always been like, I have to make my videos more appealing to those people because that is, in my mind, that's just like regular people. Like, that's just normal people don't understand my videos because I'm going too far. I'm too weird. But like, weird people do understand my videos. I don't really brand my videos towards weird people. I brand it like it is, you know, like a kind of studious analysis of anime, because I thought I was making my videos for lexical people. I thought I was trying to sell them on aesthetics. Turns out those people hate me, and all the aestheticians who watch my videos are like, oh my god, he put my thoughts into words. I'm so happy that somebody actually can explain this stuff. And it's like, I should have been marketing to that audience this whole time. I should have been like trying to make them come to my videos. You know, make them think it's going to be some aesthetic shit, and then they watch it and it's like, oh shit, knowledge. I didn't expect knowledge. You know. It's
so funny that you say that, because I have gotten those exact comments on some things that I have made.
Which
like
ones?
Like you need to do more research?
No, actually. I have gotten more comments to the effect of, oh my god, this makes so much sense. Like all of this stuff like fitting together. I'm like, you're 100% correct.
That's always been like the bulk of like the people who really like my content, especially like my patrons and stuff, are people who tell me like, I like your videos because it puts stuff that I couldn't put into words. And like, I never really understood what that meant until I put this chart together. Like, what does it mean to understand something and not be able to put it into words? You know, now I get it. Because to me, it doesn't. I don't understand it until I put it into words. You know, for the most part.
The way I looked at it was always that it was simply that I was connecting lines of thought that had not been connected for these people.
Yeah.
Not that I was explaining something they didn't know. It's just I was drawing conclusions between two things that they had always just considered to be separate.
Well, I do think that is. Yeah. I think that is the appeal for the people in those more lexical categories who do like work like mine or yours. Like, because it's not that I don't have those people in my audience. I get a lot of comments that are to the effect of like, this could use some touching up, but I really like the ideas here. I really like the road you're going down, but like, maybe this could one day be turned into a scientific paper that I can take seriously, but like until then, nice try, kid, get a degree, then I'll like consider you a scientist, but like,
it's like, why would I do that? That's not the point.
Exactly. Like, well, I've already got everybody who doesn't care about me having a degree, they just care about me sounding smarter than them. Those are the people who are going to give me money. Degree will cost me money, so.
Yeah, Ash, going back to what you said about, connecting two ideas that they thought were disparate, I was watching this video from the curator of like TED, TED Talks and all that. Mm-hmm. And like he had this analogy that I really liked. It was just like, he basically said, when you're presenting a TED Talk or any sort of idea to an audience, you sort of want it to be like, you want to make it in such a way that it's sort of a revelation. It's like you're playing Tetris, right? Mm-hmm. And you finally have that long stick, and then you plop it right down in the middle, and then you get those 5 rows. Boom, yep. It's like that's the missing piece that you needed all along. So you're sort of like, it's like a presupposition of what people already know, and you're sort of like bringing them along to like this next sort of plateau.
Yeah, just to not to toot my own horn too much, but the Frank's video was in a lot of ways designed to bridge that gap that I thought that being bridged, mm-hmm. where like you had the visual aesthetics of the show and the themes of the show, the dialogue, the surface level stuff in the show. I was seeing people talk about these things as if they were all like completely separate things, and not realizing that they all were in fact connected. Like, I really think in a really weird way that like part of what makes the analyst, at least in terms of television, I mean, this doesn't even have to be true of anime, it just is more true of anime because it is broken up into episodic, into an episodic format, is the analyst is the type of person who can watch an entire show and by the time they get to the final episode, still remember everything that happened in the first one and be able to see like all of the strings that connected all the way up through it, where I think a lot of people tend to see the first episode, see the last episode, and they're almost like two totally different, like they view them as completely separate, distinct points in time.
I think it's that they have become a different person by the last episode, and like
that too.
That is the like I would assume that for a more linear thinker, like the last impression that something leaves really means a whole lot because it was the last thing that they felt, and they're not thinking back on it all the time, aside from like the most recent feeling or as more lateral thinkers tend to like just continue thinking about shit forever. Like that's where that obsessive tendency comes from, is
Yeah.
the just like, because you have that space to continue thinking about something, you just don't stop, because you need to entertain yourself. You need to fill that channel of thought with something, especially when you're younger and you really don't have control over this shit. Like, your mind is just a cloud of fucking stuff you care about that is trying to entertain itself. And so it's just like, I'm going to think about Pokemon all day because math fucking sucks, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you say that, you know, they feel like they've become a different person, because I do not like holistic views of anything. I hate holistic interpretations. I hate holistic reviews. I hate the entire fact that I have to put, like, that I feel in some way obliged to put a score next to a show on Mao. I hate that, because it's like that is not.
Yeah, you feel like you want to put like 1,000 asterisks next to it. Right?
Yeah, like that is not representative, because I am not the type of person that like has, you know, like, it's wrong to say that I've forgotten the first episode, but like, or that other people have forgotten the first episode by the time they get to the last. But I don't see things in this weird, like, all-encompassing way. Like, everything matters individually, and the way that I actually think I recorded something, I just never posted it, about this, was that the more important thing, at least for me, when I'm analyzing something and determining whether or not I do or don't like it, or whether it is or is not good for me, is, do the number of individual small things that were good outweigh the number of individual small things that were bad?
I think I feel the same way as you, but the way that I do my scoring system is that it's a ranking system. So it's just simply that when you add those sum totals together, what's at the top? And the scores will always change if new stuff gets inserted into it, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that ended up being like how I had to, you know, think about things. It's just...
But you don't consider any of the scores to be final, because you see it. You probably love my video, You Will Drop Everything. The one that's like, basically, you don't stop experiencing a show until you die, but then you have officially dropped everything.
Right. Yes, 100%. 100%. I like to keep my scores relatively consistent when it comes to things that I really like or really hate, because those are so definitive to me. Like, that experience was so hardcore in terms of how I felt about it, that those don't really change. But like, anywhere between like 4 and 7, oh my god, that shit changes in my head. That will like bounce around all the time, especially if I like see something that is thematically or plot similar to something I've seen already, and that thing does those things better. Yeah, the scores for that other thing that I'd already seen, that has to change in order to make room for this.
That keeps happening.
Yeah, it's all relative.
It keeps happening to the bottom of my scale every time I watch a new worst anime I've ever seen, and that's why everything has to get compared to Sword Art Online in the end.
It's so funny that you bring up Sword Art Online, because I remember you saying that you moved it up to 2 after watching Astroscore.
Yeah.
I felt myself in this dilemma when I watched Higurashi, because when I finished the first season, right, I was like, this is a 1, definitively. There's just no question about it. This is a 1. And then we go and we watch the second season, and me and my buddies are like, this is worse than season 1. But the problem is that I don't feel comfortable moving season 1 up to.
You just got to create new lower scores. Like, but back when I was a kid, I had scored Ninja Resurrection a -2 because it offended me.
No, I'm referring to like on Mao. Like, I can't move this up to a 2.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But it is definitely worse.
Well, I mean, if you go to my Mal, in my bio, I don't update this anymore, but I used to have where you could click a link to a Google Doc that had every show in order of like exacting numbers. Like, it was 10, 9.9, 9.8, and they went all the way down like that. Anyway, we got to start talking about YouTubers and neurotyping YouTubers now that we're an hour into this.
Yeah, now that the intro section is over and we've both identified your types.
Yeah. It's
Do we want to go ahead
and conversation about it, you know?
Do we want to go ahead and put ourselves on the chart first, just to have like a point of reference?
Right.
Since we already know where everybody is.
Gator and Inflator says, are requests open for YouTubers to neurotype? Yeah, if you go into the Discord, you can...
or you could, obviously, if you super chat or leave a donation
if you're
to
not cool enough
Streamlabs,
to know
we
where
will
the
definitely
Discord is.
attempt to do your YouTuber if we know who they are. If not, we'll, I don't know, like glance at a video or something.
So are we just gonna do this based on? Are we gonna do this like just go down the list and like one of us will say let's put this person on and then we'll just go.
I think we're gonna pick a guy and then we're just gonna talk about where we would put them and why.
Yeah, if we need to watch a video or something,
Right,
we can.
Do this in Photoshop.
But
all right.
Somebody asked where I am. I am an overseer. So I'm like very lateral and a little bit impressionist. Well, not very lateral. It's like a little bit.
I would put you like up close to like bordering on the fascinators, analysts, quick-witted categories. Like you're definitely more to the left on the overseers side, but like not all the way.
Yeah.
Like just barely. Like, if I put your picture on here, in fact, I should put your picture on here.
You definitely should.
So, for Ash and Zen who are listening, I'm currently on screen. If anybody's not looking at the screen, I am currently collecting all of the avatars so that I can place them into a Photoshop document of the chart.
For 777, Merc Cruz says, Do tobiscus, you cowards.
Did you just say tobiscus? It's tobuscus.
Tobuscus.
I can swing my sword. Swing my
Well,
diamond sword.
We definitely
Dude.
will have to do that guy.
In the year,
I've never seen.
In the year 2020.
Oh my God.
Referencing Tobuscus in the year 2020 is a deep cut.
Oh my gosh. What is it?
I feel like an asshole for being like, oh, you don't know Tobuscus?
That's fine. That's fine. I'm like that about things too, so don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty giving me it.
That guy is peak like 2011, 2012 YouTube.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
That was before my NPC awakening, so...
I don't know Tobuscus either.
Really? Wow.
It literally does not matter.
How dare you say that?
Oh boy.
Look, I used to be into that shit when I was like, 16, 15. I can be okay with being like, yeah, that shit doesn't matter. It never mattered.
Getting upset about the pronunciation of Tobuscus is fairly lexical. I can relate.
Tobuscus.
Well, how would you guys both know Tobuscus. We got a super chat to do it, so do you want to place him? Do you think you can?
Oh God. He's an animator.
So definitely on the more impressionistic side.
Maybe
he's an animator and he's a musician.
Should we look at it?
He's definitely impressionist.
He did Let's Plays too.
Yeah, I would say that he is, in fact, an impressionist.
Like the category impressionist?
The category impressionist, because I think that if he only did animation and music, he would be more of an aesthetician. The fact that he did Let's Plays, and the fact that Let's Plays by their nature are designed to sort of communicate yourself in the most
immediate way possible.
Yeah, the most forward and immediate. I
definitely do think that Let's Play content is very linear, but it doesn't really indicate that you are linear, because you can have a very lateral conversation during your Let's Play. I do think that...
Well, he was all over the map in his Let's Plays. Like, he was
and
like
for
jumping.
$1.99, My Sky says, do Vic and Hope 2-for-1 super chat.
Oh, excellent. I'll definitely do Vic and Hope.
Yeah, we've already placed them.
2 for...
in our own time, so we already have like.
But I have to do them separately because they have totally different types.
No, absolutely, you'll have to do Vic. That's why he said 2-for-1 super chat.
All right,
he wants to do both.
To cut their logo in half.
Oh.
By the way, if you did not see Vic's new video, all anime is cringe, and that's okay. Highly recommended. I would say that Victor embraced his typing with this video,
and
went
so
full
too.
aesthetician,
I'm
and it's
glad.
fucking great.
That was a great vid if he's watching.
Because Victor is fucking terrible at just like talking, but he's great at being a badass. So it was good. Yeah.
Vic had a ton of charisma in that video. It was really great.
Absolutely.
I don't think that anybody could have like put out that message unless they were, as energetic and fun about it.
So is it just like physically impossible for him to not smile?
It really is. He really can't stop. It was a huge problem for him when he was doing drama. Like, I mean, he learned to be able to like quell it, but it's very hard.
I have the same thing. It's so hard for me to stop smiling.
I am the
you
exact.
both smile when you're awkward. It's the exact same as the guy from.
We got a $10 super chat from Mr. Scary the Terry. He says Jaden Animations or Ross O'Donovan.
Ross O'Donovan.
And then Robert Sora for $2 twice. PewDiePie, Fantano, ContraPoints, M Lemon, and Gorillas.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, we're getting a lot of people.
I know.
Oh boy, here it
goes.
goes.
Take me a second to gather all these avatars.
This is excellent.
And because we have to actually discuss these people. I mean, I guess I can just place them in the background while we discuss stuff.
I might have to take a back seat on a lot of this.
But all right, I think Victor.
Are there any YouTubers you want to do, Zen?
Oh, I'm having more fun just doing the actual plotting.
May, if you wanna write down a couple that I have that I know a couple people have not mentioned yet, I can give them to you now.
All right. Yeah, I can write them down.
All right, so Mr. Regular and the Roman from Regular Car Reviews.
Ooh, fuck! You know what?
That guy's definitely like analyst, human calculator area for sure.
It's funny. It's funny because I have a talking point when we get to car people, because as a car person myself, there's something very particular about all car people that I want to talk about.
Oh, John Boyce.
John Boyce, definitely very lateral.
Very lateral. Yeah.
I would probably put him in like the fascinators category.
For $2, Demi Lembia says you must do ContraPoints.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely do ContraPoints. I think I would say that ContraPoints is an analyst who has turned into a human computer because of their fucking fan base, and that's why I can't watch their videos anymore. That is straight up how I feel about ContraPoints. I can put it into words now. I can put it to fucking rest. Because ContraPoints was sick back when it was like edgy and nuanced, and now he has to literally, or she, I'm not sure at this point. Literally, I know that she's gone back and forth. But she is very.
She's gone back and forth for like years.
Well, I haven't watched her videos for years because this happened. She used to be.
Wait, what happened? What happened?
Just that her videos got so robotic because like.
Did you watch her canceling video?
I know.
It was literally like lambasting that.
Okay. Well, I have not.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Well, no. I want to hear what Digi.
And it could be that this has changed in the time since I last watched ContraPoints, but when I was watching them early on, she very much was like of the mindset of like. How do I put it? It was an approach very similar to mine, where it was like more concerned, I guess, about being correct than proving you're correct. And over time, because of the fact that the community put a lot of pressure on her to like be responsible and to be like very thorough and to be very like you know.
I mean, I totally understand if you can't vibe with it. It's like, I don't think she really had a recourse, because if you see like the shit she gets on Twitter, like she literally left Twitter because like it was just getting too much.
I mean, I understand it, especially being in a like political position like that. Like it's almost Contra is actually trying to do what I guess was pretending I was trying to do, which is trying to reach lexical people. Like Contra's point is to say like
Contra's point.
Yeah, Contra's point is to say like in logical terms, it is like these different ways of life are understandable and they are okay, you know? And I think that is extremely respectable. It makes very boring content for me, you know, who just wants her to like stomp on people and be like, yeah, fuck you for being wrong, dumbass. Boom, you know, like I want dunks. I want people dunking on each other. Like that's my world, you know?
I mean, that explanation also kind of explains why her videos have always been very aesthetically distinct, because she's trying to make a highly lexical point interesting to watch for very impressionist people.
All right, for $5, Kiljaro Bitterforn says, the full Killstream panel. Ralph, Gator, Flamenco, Bibble, Ranbot. Throw Andy Worski in there if you're familiar.
No, I gotta take a backseat on that one.
And then Robert Sora for €2 says,
I can't do all the
videos
Killstream
have
guys.
amazing aesthetic and nuance. I could do most of them.
Yeah, no, I definitely think Contra,
we could probably work through
Contra
it.
is definitely a more aesthetic thinker than myself, though we have very similar tastes.
In what way is she more aesthetic than you?
She has put more effort into learning how to actually capture like a real aesthetic. Like,
okay,
made an entire video on aesthetics. Like that is the most.
But she
like,
made an analytical video to justify aesthetics. Though.
You've made a bunch of those.
Yeah, I mean, the way I would put it is this: when I became a man and got fat and grew a beard and decided that I was just going to be okay with that, I gave up on trying to look presentable and became like a sewer man. And my aesthetic, it certainly has a unique flavor, but I don't put nearly the amount of thought into it I think that ContraPoints does, where ContraPoints builds entire costumes. Like, there's detail, you know? So like
lots of time and thought was put into even the makeup.
Right. And so, like, while I don't think Contra is, like dramatically more aesthetic than me, I do think that, like, she has embraced that side. And like you said, especially, like, I think the more robotic the videos have gotten, the more, like, over the top the aesthetic has gotten, too. Like, for sure, her production values always go up, along with the detail in the scripts, you know?
It's kind of funny that you say that, because her excessive makeup and the crazy sets and stuff are in a way kind of revealing of the fact that she is more lexical, because only a lexical person would go out of their way to try to interpret a specific feeling with that much high detail. Like this I think it is her going out of her way to try to figure out in like because I think that
there's a bunch of porn in your server right now. I gotta get out of the Sonic porn ghetto real quick.
Oh boy, you fuckers! I'm gonna have to ban you.
Do we have any mods?
Kazi was a mod, and then she ghosted me.
Oh boy. Okay, you guys are fucking like. I appreciate all the super chats, but goddamn, like we're gonna have to start writing these down as they come in.
I can do that.
This chat is not.
Oh, we're gonna be here for a while. All right.
Robert Sora for €2 says Matthew Matosis. This is for George TDSB.
George TDSB?
I don't know who that is, but that's who it's for.
Okay, so Matthew Matosis is an interesting one because, okay, as I said earlier, one of the most interesting things I learned from this project is that people do not necessarily try to present themselves the way that they actually are. I present myself exactly the way that I am. And that's why I'm able to write so easily. But there are a lot of people who for whom writing very technical stuff, they really appreciate that, but it does not come naturally, and it is very difficult. Matthew Matosis is one of these people. This man is an insanely lateral thinker, but he is extremely, like, driven by kinesthetic. His taste in games has to do with the way they feel, the technical aspects of the controls. He's unfucking believably good at video games. Like, he can beat his favorite game designer is Hideki Kamiya, who I would consider to be essentially a new type, or I guess an esthetician game designer, somebody who is very unrelenting on the idea that his games need to have a particular feel and control sense. And Matthew Matosis goes to these unfathomable levels of effort in order to translate what he likes about these games lexically. His videos take months to write. He goes over the scripts again and again, rewrites them. He you know, if you listen to him on streams, he's not particularly articulate when he talks about his opinions. He is, but he's talking about stuff while he's like utterly demolishing these insanely hard games. So I'm gonna say that Matthew Matosis belongs in like the highly lexical or highly lateral fascinator to new type category, based on my analysis of him as a longtime fan and patron.
Blackland Blade also says, "Can you elaborate on Hope's placement, please?"
So, okay, I'm curious because Vic and Hope are actually making their own video talking about their neurotypes. So, I'm sure Victor's probably going to agree with my placement. But Hope, I won't say I know the way she thinks well enough to know how she places. I know mostly how she presents herself and what her tastes are. And putting her in, I mean, she is literally a technician. She is a nurse technician. But her personality is very quick-witted. She is definitely very much a rule follower. She was like a straight-A student, very, very, very milquetoast. What's the word I'm looking for of like you never took a single risk in your entire life? Like you never did anything. Straight edge. Straight-laced. Straight edge. Yeah, straight-laced even better. Straight edge and straight-laced, just like all around good girl. So definitely like in the by the books category, but I think she has some frustrations with what she sees similarly to an analyst as unreasonable behavior from over-lexical people. So that's why I put her more towards the understanding category as well. So, like, just all four, technician, quick-witted, contemplative, understanding, all four of those words sound like they describe Hope from my perspective. But again, I've, you know, I don't know the way she thinks as well as I know some of these YouTubers who I've watched hundreds of hours of videos from. So, as opposed to my brother's fiance.
Right.
But
Nate, before we go any farther, so that I can like tab back over to the stream, do you just want to write down like my like a list of people that I can just give out?
Yeah, sure.
Just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you're ready.
I have pen and paper. I'm ready.
Okay. Aaron Hansen and Daniel Avidan.
Ralph.
Game Grumps.
Yeah, we have to do the game.
Yeah, we definitely have to do Game Grumps.
In fact, let's just do them now.
Okay, excellent.
They're gonna be fun to do.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Matt Farah.
Who's that?
Smoking Tire.
More car reviews.
Yes. Yes. Joe Rogan.
Yeah, we have to do him. I'm very curious to see where Digi would think Joe Rogan goes.
Raise Your Fist.
Fuck yeah.
I'm literally just going down my subscriptions list.
Based.
I'm gonna put these two together. The guys from the Straight Pipes.
The Straight Pipes?
Yes. More car stuff. Don't make fun.
Who in the fuck?
No judge.
Doug DeMuro.
All right, I have felt out my placement of Ego Raptor. I've put him mostly in the aestheticians category. He's an animator. He is very bad at explaining himself and forming words. He is another guy who has to rewrite his scripts again and again and again, hates them, takes 10 months to write a script and then can animate the fucking script in like 3 months. But he is definitely pretty lateral. He's not definitely nowhere near the lateralness of Matthew Matosis. I don't even think he's as lateral as Victor. So I have him kind of bordering into impressionists, but also kind of tipping into the overseers and externalists category. I think he has more of an interest in being lexically understood than someone like Victor or even Zen Huxtable here. But not so much that it drives him out of being primarily an aesthetician. So
I would put him slightly farther to the left simply because he has found a way to manage a company and large groups of people. Like, people who cannot communicate lexically enough.
That's not true because Donald Trump is a pure instinct thinker. Absolutely.
Okay, you know what? In all fairness, sure. I'm not even gonna. You know what? Now that you say that, I'm not even gonna fight it.
I mean, it just comes
Fuck
down
it.
to there's this somebody tweeted or quoted this in the comments, an amazing fucking Donald Trump quote where he said something to the effect of I learned that it was deep to be shallow, and that was a very deep experience for me. Like, basically that, like, when he learned that he could succeed even making shallow decisions, that he considered that to be a deep learning experience. And what I believe he means by this is that, to translate that into fucking lexical terms, that, like, and I was even planning to make the video I posted today, was almost called Two Kinds of Deep, where I think that people who are very impressionistic thinkers, they think of something being deep as being explained in a lot of words. Whereas people who are very technical thinkers think of deep as being very difficult to explain with words. And so
It's very true.
I think we go in opposite directions of what we consider deep, and that's why we admire stuff that's on the other side. And so
that's why there's no concurrence on what deep actually means.
exactly. And so when Trump says that, what he means is, like, from his perspective as a very impressionistic thinker, deep means lots of words and thinking. And when he realized he didn't have to do that, then that allowed him to enter the constant flow state that he clearly is always in. So, you know, which is what makes him so fucking powerful, is that he's just a relatively intelligent guy running on pure instinct through America, and with no stopping to question himself whatsoever. Anyway, PewDiePie, Fantano, ContraPoints, Emp Lemon, and Gorillas were all suggested by Robert. Yeah, just write them all down. What's the first thing you have actually written down? We can scroll. We also have to write down Jaden Animations and Ross O'Donovan.
The first thing I have written down is a car guy, Mr. Regular Roman.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, Ash, do you want to break down regular car reviews? Because I've only watched like one or two of his videos.
Okay, so regular car reviews is the idea of... I saw it described, I forget where, but imagine if you were to review a car, but to do so through the lens of college literature, right? Like, imagine if a college lit professor reviewed a car, where the point of these reviews is not necessarily to tell you whether or not this is or isn't a good car. It is more interested in explaining what the car means. What does it, like, what is the type of person that drives this kind of vehicle? And they achieve this by constantly making references to classical literature. They constantly make references to certain attitudes from the place in time when the car was being made. Like, if they're reviewing a car from the 80s, they always will put into the video a ton of just events that happened at the year in which this car finally was put into production or was, made available to the public. Like, what albums were coming out at the time, who was being elected to president, like these very vast, all-encompassing ideas of what a car actually means. So, and the thing about this that I would get into with just all car people, everyone who is into cars is definitively above average lateral.
I think so too.
Because the amount of things that you have to be constantly considering as being part of the whole.
I mean, you can love cars and be a linear thinker, but it won't be the same thing as the way that a lateral person is into cars. You know what I mean?
Car reviewers have to be incredibly lateral people, because they're having to consider all of these things that go into what makes a car be a certain way.
Right.
Things like the steering, the engine, the transmission, the seat feel, the trunk space. Like, these things are all encompassing into what they perceive to be about the car, and you have to be thinking about them at all times. So car viewers by default are just going to be more lateral. Regular car reviews is definitely more.
I'm going to expand on that and say that, like, most reviewers are probably more lateral than the average person, which is why they do reviews.
True.
Like, they're just like, able to pick up on more and therefore are like more reliably. Well, I mean, I really think that like, you know, essentially what we want from a reviewer is for them to be the most lateral but able to communicate to the most linear thinker. Like that would be like Roger Ebert, like hyperlateral thinker, but his reviews are succinct and easy to understand, and they just give you like a very impressionistic kind of view of the movie, not necessarily because he is, I mean, he is definitely more of like a fascinator type category, but like also that is just an easier way to compartmentalize that information for the average person, you know? Like,
Yeah.
most people aren't hyperlexical or hyper-impressionist thinkers. They're somewhere in the middle. So, like, you know, being able to write for that audience is very important if you want to have mass appeal. But, like, you know, for a car reviewer, yeah, they have to be able to think laterally, and then, you know, how much they translate that down depends on how much they want to. Obviously, regular car reviews is getting away with not reducing his point at all.
Yeah. And I agree with your placement, because the appeal of regular car reviews in the world of car reviews is the taking away from the traditional factoid level style of most car reviews and applying a level of intense mysticism to the car in terms of what it represents.
I mean, the only video I watched from him was one that went in depth about postmodernism in order to explain a car, which I thought was great. Yeah, the PT Cruiser review. Somebody mentioned
the PT Cruiser. Yeah. If you want one that is going to make you realize exactly how impressionist they are, it's not on their channel because they took it off because it was so raunchy. All you have to do is go onto YouTube and search regular car reviews Dodge Avenger, and you will get one of the best videos ever made for YouTube, bar none.
I will have to check that out.
Please, someone explain to me why postmodernism came up in the conversation about a PT Cruiser.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it makes.
I don't remember exactly. It's been a while.
It essentially, his whole thing is to say that because postmodernism is less about the tangibly real and more about how you feel about a thing, the entire point of the PT Cruiser's existence was to appeal to the nostalgia of the boomers, the people who remember, like, the PT Cruiser has a very weird design and like a retro design, and the reason for that was because it was designed to be sold to your grandma. Which it was. And so the entire car is built on this premise of postmodernism, of it doesn't matter whether or not the car is good because the PT Cruiser is shit. So the whole point of it is to just sell it based solely on the feeling, the remembrance of times long past. Like, the value of the car is not in whether or not it is or is not good. It is exclusively within the realm of, does this make you feel like you used to feel, like you want to feel? It's a very good.
It sounds more modern to me than postmodern. I don't know.
Just it's one of those, you gotta watch the video because it's.
Yeah, I guess I'll check it out.
Yeah. But definitely, if you want to know, like,
it wasn't so much that he was saying that the car was postmodern, as that he just goes into the entire history of postmodernism in an effort to get to the point where he talks about the car.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out.
If you really want to understand exactly how impressionist regular car reviews is, though, you gotta watch the Avenger review, because it is something else.
That's a head scratcher. Ooh-wee.
I'll just say this. This is a car review, but somehow, and it makes complete sense, there is a shot of him. He shoots from a GoPro. So it's this perspective of someone with a GoPro. He's in his basement and pulling a condom over his foot. This is in a car review.
Beautiful. You gotta love it. Regular cars. Yeah, my old roommate used to watch this guy. Well, he does watch this guy because he's a big car guy.
So I've gone ahead and placed another couple of guys on the chart. John Boys, pretty much everything you just said about regular car reviews can also be said about John Boys, except that there's also like a hardcore video element to it where he like does I mean, there's another one I've only seen one of his videos, but it had
Which
like
one?
the game or the like insane blowout game.
Oh yeah, the one with what's his name?
And it's got like action figure stop motion animations in it and shit. It's it was one of the most it was legitimately like so good that I couldn't register it as a YouTube video in my mind because it felt like way too fucking good to be a YouTube video. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that guy.
It was crazy.
He's great.
Robert Sora with €2 says, Donkey, Christine, Weston, Chandler, stop cars, please.
All right, write them all down.
I wrote them.
Joe Rogan, I feel like, has to go somewhere between, like, the understanding he might just be right in the dead center. Maybe that's his fucking superpower. Like, where do you think Joe Rogan would go?
Ooh.
I think he might literally be able to understand everyone.
I would definitely say
because
that,
he's in the dead center of the chart.
The dead center, maybe a little tiny bit to the left.
You think so?
Maybe just a little bit more to the left.
But he's, like, big into fucking, like non-proven facts.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You
know?
know?
I know. No, you're right. You're absolutely right, actually.
I actually think that he should probably be more in the understanding category.
You think so?
Because I'm not sure if his, like, the way that he's able to just bring in so many people and present them in such a similar way and sort of ground everybody within the same space, that to me speaks more to someone who is able to mesh perspectives to, like, really get people who think in completely different ways and to sort of sit there and be able to...
Joe Rogan is literally a centrist. That's all.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty fucking funny.
That's incredible.
Oh boy. All right, well, I agree. I've tucked him into the understanding with like just a little feelers out into the surrounding categories because I do think I wouldn't call him quick-witted per se. He's close to that, but I wouldn't quite call him that. He's not quippy.
Yeah.
You know? And obviously, I think he belongs somewhat in the externalist category because he is a fucking fame whore. You know, like,
yes.
At the end of the day, his ego is what all this is in service of to some degree. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he is so understanding is probably why he can bring on people of all different types.
Well, and not just like that he can bring all these people in, but that he has this weird ability to sort of equalize the playing field. Like, his limited knowledge on basically everything forces other people to have to explain themselves in language.
They have to like have a depth understanding of what they're talking about so they don't sound like idiots, because like he's going to be that 5-year-old asking why
yes, exactly. So his ability to force people to explain themselves in a way that everybody can understand, and to do that to anyone that he brings on the podcast, I think definitely puts him into the understanding category.
All right, we have a $1 super chat from Gabe Reynolds. Thank you. And then for $2, Charlie says, do the Red Letter Media cast.
But we can't leave that out.
We definitely got to do that.
Yes.
So I placed Dan Avidan of the Game Grumps in the Pure Instinct category, a little bit closer to Impressionists, because he is somewhat of a lateral thinker, but that man very much lives in the moment, very much cannot speak, cannot explain himself, does not care to explain himself.
And is totally cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely chill with it, so I would definitely put him in the Pure Instinct category.
Digi, I actually have to ask you about, because Dan is primarily a musician, do you think that musicians by default trend toward Impressionism?
I would say trend towards yes, but again, there are ways to get into different mediums through, different mindsets.
For sure.
I think that like a lot of like prog is a very lexical way of looking at music. It's like, I can understand what makes it good because it's in these complex time signatures that go one into another, and like there's no, it's all in service of this big, larger message. But like when you listen to I mean, it depends on the prog band, really, because there's definitely more abstract stuff. But when I think like Dream Theater prog, like that kind of very rigid, structured, technically driven prog, where the lyrics are often very straightforward, very direct about what the song is like about. It's just the music that's like insanely complex and technical. But like there's nothing to read into it. It just is complex and technical,
Would you say that Coheed is the same way?
I would say they're
Coheed a little bit more impressionist.
I would say they're more in the I would say, I mean, if Claudio Sanchez, the songwriter, I would put him actually probably way farther to the right. His lyrics are completely fucking incomprehensible. Like and if you listen to him talk, he's not very good at speaking. So, I would probably put him in like almost probably when I'm really trying to think about it, because I'm a big Coheed fan.
So am I.
That's trying to think like how like he's definitely pretty lateral, but I wouldn't say to the point of being like fucking out there connections. So I think I'd probably put him like the impressionists to aestheticians, maybe closer to the overseers or externalist kind of side, but like, somewhere in that range. But that's not even a YouTuber. But
I think that's fair.
But like, yeah, like, and I think that's what puts Coheed so distant from prog. Like, a lot of prog fans really hate Coheed and Cambria.
Stop with the dicks and surgery in the chat.
Yeah,
there is definitely like a circumcision or a sex change in there.
If you fucking
you will be banned.
You lose it.
How the fuck did it get here?
You abuse it, you lose it. You could probably ban them from your phone.
I'm going to. Tristan Johnston for 5 Canadian says, like Digi, I'm good at essay writing, but bad at programming. With that in mind, are programmers such as Tom Scott on the opposite end linear?
Ooh. Tom Scott, where would I put him? Because he's fucking... I might put him in, like, the fascinator side of the analysts category, maybe?
Really?
Maybe. I mean, his thinking seems... I don't know. I've never...
Okay, did you see his video on copyright law? Because that completely changed how I thought of him in terms of this chart.
All right,
wait, how so?
Let me know.
I thought that was really in line with what he usually...
No. Just in terms of, like, because so much of the stuff he talks about is things that I don't know, right? Things that I'm just not well versed in the discussion of. It never really gave me any sort of insight really into sort of how he thought about things. But whenever he's talking, like when he talks about copyright, I'm embroiled in that shit, right? Like I understand the bullshit is surrounding all of that. So like the way he talks about that stuff to me was it enabled me to actually place him better in this whole into this chart. And I would say that he's probably on the opposite end of the of Joe Rogan in the understanding category, because his just his comprehensive understanding of rules and how things work, and his desire to manipulate those things, and acknowledgement of the fact that, because like in the copyright video that he recently released, his whole thing, the way he came away with it was saying that copyright law is right, it's just everything around it that's fucked. And I'm just like,
you can go back. I deleted and kicked him.
Okay.
That is a borderline bookkeeper perspective to have, to look at a thing that is actively like fucking people over and be like, it's not completely broken.
Well,
I actually kind of agree with him.
No. I'm not saying that I don't agree with him. I do. It's just the way that he presented it made me realize that he's less of a anti-rules guy and more a manipulator of the rules type guy. Like he understands them so completely that he knows how to work around them rather than just more
be that as it may, I think I would put him in like human calculators, because the man is lateral as fuck. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just he's definitely more like lexical in terms of how he approaches knowledge.
I could see that. I mean, I'm thinking about his videos, and like, he is very carefully spoken. You know, he says the whole word like this. You know what I mean? White
Yes.
people. So I I do think, yeah, that would put him in the lexical. I think I'm comfortable putting him in human calculators because the man seems like he actually can run calculations at like a computer-esque speed. You know what I mean?
Well, his ability to explain how code works at all
Yeah.
just turns him into a human calculator. Because
I
that
also don't think that he necessarily scripts his videos.
I don't think so.
No,
either.
he doesn't.
Or if he
He
does, he
doesn't.
memorizes them because there's those. Sometimes he at the end of a video he's like one take, like he's like fucking like literally like coming in his fucking
Oh my
pants and he just
gosh,
did it
you're
in one
right.
take.
Okay,
like,
Robert Sora says
yeah.
Death Grips, Godzilla, and American Samoa, please.
American
When
Samoa,
Zen
that
is losing patience with Ash, I felt that.
What happened?
Robert Sora super chatted, when Zen is losing patience with Ash, he felt that.
Wait, what?
He felt it. It's deep within.
He's accusing you.
It's deeper than.
Robert Sora, by the way, is definitely a impressionist or pure instinct.
Robert Sora, I do hope you streamed yourself.
somewhere
That's
in that
all.
category. All right, give me another name that was on. Oh wait, actually, I have some avatars.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, Ash. Yeah, let's fucking talk about Razor Fist and where he belongs.
About
Razor
what?
Fist.
Okay, Razor Fist. Okay. This is difficult.
I'm gonna put him. I'm putting him right on the board. In fact, as close to being analyst as you can be while being. You think he's more of an impressionist?
Just with the way that he's with language, how he like thinks in metaphor.
I think he's impressionistic too.
You think so?
I think he might be a little bit more. I don't know if I necessarily would put him like, full impressionist.
Okay.
I
understand
recall
what
you
you're
saying that he does like. You say that he always does like a lot of research, right?
He just has done all the research at all times. He is always researching. Yeah.
Well, okay, I actually think I agree. I think he should be on the other side of analyst.
Which side?
Because
the fascinator side or the
yes,
computer side?
yes.
Okay, I've moved him over there.
The reason I say that is the man defines so much of his so much of how he communicates.
Yeah.
Can be instantly understood by how he looks.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Like he makes a lot of his points almost just by being on camera because so much of his image is crafted on this level of like
Human
understanding.
calculators don't wear man liner.
It's true. You've convinced me. I had to think about it a little bit more. I was just thinking about. I mean, it's kind of like how. Okay, one of the hardest things for me when I was making this was that like when I wanted to put Jesse, my buddy Jesse, and who I know will hate to be labeled. I know he's gonna hate this whole entire thing. He's gonna hate everything about this all the way through.
Do you really think so?
Yeah, he already does. He already hates it because he knows that people are gonna use it as a new way to misunderstand him and label things, and he hates these labels as any overseer should. But he. Which of course that is even more aggravating to say something like that.
Oh yeah, go fuck yourself.
But
what are you doing talking about overseers?
But the hardest thing for me was trying to like understand for myself. Well, this man is better with language than I am, from my perspective, because he can use it to express even more ideas, even more artfully. But then I think about how for me. Expressing something artfully is going out of my way to do that. Like, I have to, take my boring writing and go and try to make it sound funny if I want to sound that way. Whereas it comes very natural to me to write in a dry and, there are little, licks of fun in my scripts, but they're pretty fucking dry, Whereas, for him, it comes very naturally to write in that way, and, in spite of the fact, it's not that I am lacking the vocabulary. I'm lacking the imagination, and it used to be something where I felt like, oh, I need to practice at being better at writing like that. And then I figured out that I don't. I need to practice at being better at writing a different way, a way that makes sense to me, that and now, like, whereas it used to be when I tried to write a rap that sounds good, I tried to write it more like Jesse. Now I try to write a good Digibro rap, And so, like, and I had to figure out what that was. But, like, it just won't sound the same. It's not going to be a more impressionistic rap. It's going to just be more dense with, like, metatextual layers that, could be explained easily, lexically, that were put there on purpose, I don't know how I got down this rabbit hole of what I'm saying right now. Oh, I guess that, like, Razorfist is another case of somebody who I look at as like, oh, he's better with words than I am, because they come out even faster and sound even more eloquent, even more artsy. But, like, yeah, I mean, that is just how he fucking talks. It's just how it sounds. He's not, like, trying to sound artsy. He just talks that way.
Like, if you ever watch any of his live streams, you realize very quickly that a lot of what you see in his scripted videos is it's difficult to tell sometimes what is off the cuff and what is written.
Oh yeah, I don't think he scripts most of his videos. I think that, like, the Rageaholic ones are scripted, but I think the ones where he's on
not any of his, like, reaction videos or, like, rants or stuff. Like, yeah. I really do think that all of that is just off the cuff.
Right, and I mean, it's partly because I understand, we're all off the cuff right now. We're speaking, we're sounding pretty intelligent, we're saying stuff that sounds kind of good. We might have a little ums and uhs mixed in there. We might not be the best at the non-stop train of no ums and uhs, but, you gotta be really amped up, you gotta be really hyped, you really gotta get into that fucking flow state if you don't want to say any ums and uhs, you know what I'm saying? And you gotta practice that, and you practice that by doing radio, and that's what Razorfist did. He used to be in radio.
I just moved my hands. Helps the words come out easier.
Oh my god, I
was moving my hands too.
Is talking with your friends, like, what kind of a category would you put that in?
Oh, that's all of them. That just helps you talk. That's just human behavior.
We also do Onision.
I think he's a human calculator to the extreme. That man is, like, everything he does has to be, like, to the letter of how he understands it. Just based on the one podcast I heard that he did with on the Ralph Retort when they interviewed him, definitely human calculator.
And then Robert Sora for €5 says a poem: Impressionist autism level 3, Pisces, ENFP, shroomed or not. That's a me. And then Zen, do you like Akio Yano's contribution to Hideaki Anno's movie?
I loved it, and I tried to download a VPN to use Apple Music Japan to download it and put it on YouTube, but I couldn't for some reason. But now I have a VPN, so there's that. I can watch Terrace House on Netflix. That's a silver lining. It's a good song, though.
And we also got requested to do Asano and Hideaki Anno.
I like how we were getting all these non-YouTuber requests.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they put stuff on YouTube. Do you want another drink?
Yes, I want another drink. Who did I just save this avatar of just now? PewDiePie.
Oh my god.
PewDiePie! What do you guys think? I have not watched enough PewDiePie to really feel, like, confident at all.
PewDiePie, huh?
Let me think. Just based off of the little I have seen.
He's not a very lexical thinker. I think he's definitely a little more down the middle, a little to the right of the middle.
I think I might put him in externalists, leaning towards, like, impressionist, clear-sighted, pure instinct corner, maybe.
Because he bounces around a lot.
Yeah.
And he also is very, very aware of the, like, as opposed, I think, to a lot of people who have a persona as, like, a defense mechanism. I think he legitimately enjoys the persona that he has, and he wants to just maintain it because he knows that it's fun for him and other people.
I consider that. So when I developed the sort of second layer, the contemplative understanding, externalists and impressionists, that is essentially where you have more lateral thinking than just, like, always being in the moment, but it's not so lateral that you feel distant from yourself. Like, I really think the more lateral you are, the more distant you feel from, like, your physical body. Like, you feel less and less, unless you, like, obsess over it in some way, unless you find some, like, some mechanism by which to keep up with your own physical self. You are so wrapped up in your mind that it's, like, really hard to place yourself in the current moment and, like, have a conception of who yourself is to be yourself. And that's something that takes you a lot longer to find because it doesn't resemble what most people's self is. Whereas somebody who is just somewhat lateral, but not to such an extent where it's like, they like can't figure themselves out or like don't fit into society. They just seem like really cool dudes, It's just like, yeah, that guy like is just like a little bit more of a personality than most, I guess. Or like just a little bit, not necessarily that they are literally like more interesting, but that like they have put more craft into their sense of self than a more linear thinker would, but not to like such an obsessive degree that it's like weird and off-putting to somebody who doesn't understand that, So like that's what I think makes PewDiePie and like the externalist category is what I consider the pop star. Like these are the people who have the highest potential to become like catastrophically famous is the ones who are externalists, because it's like it's a crafted image, but it's one that people understand because it's not so much more complex than how they feel that they are like confused by it,
Yep.
So yeah, that's where I'm gonna put him. Bam.
I just saw that you put him there, and I'm like, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
It's a thing where in terms of you talking about flow states, I think externalist is where people are they understand, like the flow state is very discernible to them and they just want to be in that flow state all the time and will do anything to be there.
Yeah, I agree.
We are now getting requested to do Donkey and Destiny.
I'm putting Destiny in like the all the way on the left wall. Literally cannot conceive of something that is not exactly in the exact terms. Which is why he is impossible to communicate for people like me or Dick. But he is definitely very lateral, probably even more so than, or at least like close to on par with myself. So I don't know if I'd put him above or below me, but like on par on the lateral, but just pure fucking type A. So yeah, that's where I'm putting Destiny. Who's Donkey,
fucking Destiny.
You guys watch Donkey?
Wait, say it again for Destiny. What's your rationale?
My rationale is that he literally only understands things in terms of the exact phrasing of it. Like, anything less than the exact perfect word choice is literally incorrect to Destiny.
I want to say that he's doing it for show and just for, like, posturing.
I don't even think that's completely
like live
true.
Streams. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I want to say that.
Yeah, that's what I believe, because like me and Dick both went on his show and called him like a lying piece of shit and fake and a phony. But like after talking to him, I think it just is automatic. I don't think he's trying to be that way. I think he's just a fucking asshole and thinks that that's the way you're supposed to be. Like, I think that's the real problem, is that he thinks you're supposed to be that way.
The fact of the matter is that, like, whatever it is, whatever he truly is, the material effect that he puts out into the world is that's the presentation, and that's how we perceive him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true for all these people, of course. We don't...
Right.
Anyone who we don't know personally. Like, it's a lot easier for me to place people who I've talked to or listened to on podcasts and shit. Okay.
Donkey I would actually place in a similar place to regular car reviews. This weird...
Ah, fuck me. Jesus.
I don't think he's even that lexical. I think he's on, like, the far right end of the...
Oh, really?
He's really not that lexical, no.
Yeah.
What?
And like, what I love about Donkey is his ability to... Like, in his reviews, which are, like, 2.5 minutes long, he'll say something like... You see that mountain over there? You can go there. And, like, that's his review of Ocarina of Time, and I 100% agree. Like, it's a perfect review. There's nothing more that ever needed to be said. You see that mountain over there? You can go there. So, yeah, I'm going to put him in, like, the aesthetician, close to new type, definitely pretty far to the right. Maybe even farther than Victor. I might have to move Victor slightly to the left to move Donkey more to the right.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because Donkey doesn't even try to explain himself. He just lets the point speak for what it is.
There's no indication of what the fuck video you're gonna get when you click on it. It's just like it'll just be called like, you know, Sport Ball or something, and it'll be a video of just him playing a video game and like laughing at dumb shit he did. He's also insane.
What was that?
The fucking stand-up video that he did is still one of the funniest things I've seen.
What was that? What was that one video he did of where it was just like trains and birds? That is.
I can't remember.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was fucking weird.
But like thinking about that, that is 100% pure impressionism. Just.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now I know what you're talking about.
I'm moving him more closer up into the new type category because the way he plays video games is the most lateral way I've seen someone play a video game before. Like that's like the main entertainment value to me in watching him play like Metal Gear Solid 5 or Ocarina or the fucking what's the latest Breath of the Wild is like those games have tons and tons and tons of room for you to express yourself within, and like for me, I have no interest in expressing myself in a video game. Like I play video games to like consume someone else's expression. I am not there to express myself. I have other ways of expressing myself. Donkey will play a video game and find a way to play it in a way that no one else has ever played it before, and then show it to us on video, you know? Well,
I actually think that actually contributes to, like, one of the things that I value him for is when he plays games like Call of Duty and stuff, he has this way, the way he puts the video together to give actual character to a game that by its design has no character.
Oh boy, what happened to the computer?
Everything, a lot of things were open at the same time.
Oh my gosh, hopefully
Did something freeze?
I'm just gonna have to close.
Oh, the computer just went retarded.
No, we're still.
I think we're still probably streaming. I just think the.
No, you are.
You are streaming still.
Well, I mean, there's a delay, so.
We literally cannot even.
But we're still in the Discord.
Windows.
That's something with the display. Oh my god.
Ash, are they cutting out for you too? You know,
slightly, but probably not as bad as I am.
You're not cutting out that much for me.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
I think I probably was like overloading the computer with the amount of things happening.
How much RAM do you have on that computer?
I don't know. I don't know anything.
you could check that in like the properties of the computer itself, right?
All you have to do is type about in the search bar of the computer.
I think my browser crashed, but that's fine. It shouldn't affect the live stream. The actual thing that I'm live streaming through is not showing us any output at all.
Yeah, which is terrifying.
It's really scary.
Hold up. Go back to the task manager.
Okay.
I just want to see something.
People are saying it's working fine, so that's
strange. It is working fine. It looks fine.
They can
I just want to see how much RAM you got.
Screen though, right?
Yeah, they can see what's happening on the screen. I'm looking at it right now. Oh, we got some super chats. My Sky for $4.99 says, "This chart is getting a bit top heavy. Does the sample pool of YouTube not lend itself to the bottom left sides?"
Ooh.
I would say
look at the big brain on brain.
I was actually going to make a point about this at some point, that I don't think that anybody here will be a bookkeeper.
Oh, Digi, go to performance.
Yeah, I mean, why would they become YouTubers?
Exactly. Like if these people, if any of these people were bookkeepers, they'd be on TV or on radio.
It's at the top left, Digi.
I have is it memory? 15.9 gigs CPU.
Yeah, 16 gigs of RAM.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. That should be enough.
Somebody says that anime snob and also the MRE guy have been requested.
Oh, the MRE guy. Oh man,
shit,
amazing.
That's something.
Have you seen the MRE videos?
I've seen one of them. I've seen one.
They're so comfy.
I have seen one, and I was for the time that the video was running, I was entranced.
Yeah, I love his fucking video.
Like
Oh.
it's not the kind of content I could watch regularly, I don't think.
No.
But it is
Quickly.
like when I do, it's like, oh my god, I'm fascinated.
Quickly. Todd in the Shadows. Let's plot him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I had him on my working list before, because I did type a bunch of YouTubers on my own at some point.
How is it possible that Streamlabs is just a gray screen,
I
yet
don't
is
know. It's
somehow
really freaking
working?
me out. It's.
How are we
definitely
end the
disconcerting.
stream?
They can't see, like, they don't know what we're talking about because it's on the second monitor, but like the actual, like, you know, thing we are streaming through is just a gray screen. So it is streaming still mysteriously.
Yeah, everything's tip top.
But you know, and also Discord won't appear, but I can just close that and reopen it. No problem.
I listened to Todd's video.
Oh shit, wait. I forgot we were in Discord in order to hear them.
Oh my god.
Well, the stream can still hear us.
I'm glad. Are
Agree
you just
with,
gonna?
I had to restart
Did the audio
Discord.
just cut out?
I had to restart Discord because it was a blank screen for me. Not thinking about the fact that restarting Discord would cause me to not hear you anymore. So,
I just said that. I said that I listen to Todd in the Shadows when I animate because he's the perfect white noise.
I would put him probably in either understanding or level-headed. I'd probably put him like in the fairly lateral, like close to quick-witted, but ultimately like mostly in the understanding category. I think he's like the epitome of the understanding man. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, understanding.
Yeah. It just got really quiet, and I was like, "Uh-oh, was that?"
No, I was
shit I've
mulling it
ever
over.
said?
That's why.
I don't know Todd in the Shadows, so I have nothing
He's a
to
pretty
add.
cool music guy. Steve MRE
Okay,
Info.
He definitely goes heavy. He's not like incredibly lexical, but he's pretty lexical.
Yeah. I think
Because
it's
like when he
fair
does
to-
like his when he does like the throwback videos, he goes pretty heavy into research.
I think that he's the type who also feels the need to do that in order to appease certain people, you know, like
Absolutely.
there's some level of interest and then some level of extra. And like yeah, I don't know. I just think to me like when I compare him to like the anime characters who I put in this square, it's like, yeah, he's exactly that kind of guy. Just like the kind of guy who is always going to take care of anyone who he comes across, you know? Like Bleeding Heart, White Knight, you know, burned by his own feminism in the past, so trying to not be too much of a feminist, but still very much a
Wait,
big
what
time.
happened?
Oh, I just think he was, you know, a white knight boy. Like, he gives the impression of somebody who, you know, has been hurt by caring too much about people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he kind of does.
Somebody
He's got a bit of
requested that we
extra
do
money,
Sticks
like it.
because we did Razor.
I don't know Sticks. I don't watch that.
You've never
Sticks,
seen him?
Oh my god, I used to be subscribed to that guy.
Where would you put him?
Back when I was an edgy boy. Oh, he just rattles off his opinions, so he's not very lexical. He's definitely somewhere in the middle spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bother putting him on because I don't know him. And I don't care.
I would probably put him on like the right.
I'm just trying to think about Steve MRE Info because this guy, like, he definitely is not hyper lexical. He talks like, I don't know, he just kind of gives a very general, pleasing, like, monotone analysis, but when he eats the stuff, he can like perfectly describe the tastes and flavors and stuff. Like, he knows exactly what those flavors are. He's like, oh, it has such a tart.
Yeah, I mean that means
know,
he's
aftertaste.
lexical, right? If he's able to.
I would think so. Yeah.
Transmit that on the start.
I mean, when I think about the music that he uses in his videos, which is just like this weird fucking bleep bloop shit, like,
would he be a technician?
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a sense of how he thinks just from his videos because they are so fucking weird. Like, I don't relate to them at all. So, I love them, but it's...
Would you say that he's like an analyst with a fair bit into the like human calculator and technician side of things?
I mean, maybe. Like, he definitely is very obsessive about dates. He's very obsessed. Like, he can memorize lots of the information that is in the packages. So, yeah. And the fact, again, that he can ascribe a meaning to a taste so quickly. I think I'd probably put him in the technicians category. So, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go ahead and put him on, like right smack in the middle or something.
Yeah.
Digi, I was curious about your opinion when May, who was it that commented about like a lack of people in like the lower left quadrants?
Yeah.
I made the assumption that anybody who is on YouTube is just not going to be down in those places, because anybody who would be down in those places who does similar stuff would just be in TV or in radio. They would be going with a traditional medium.
I think you're looking at this the wrong way. What you need to ask yourself is, who are we and who is our audience and who do they watch? Because we are all lateral thinkers, and our audience is most likely going to be more lateral thinkers, and they are probably watching more lateral channels.
Where'd you put Joe?
Okay.
On pause and select.
Oh, I mean, I don't know him that well. He seems, obviously extremely lateral.
I would put him like between an analyst and human calculator, like in that area.
I mean, it's weird because on the one hand, he reads every single fucking thing there is to read, and he knows all these technical terms and stuff, but like the way that he actually writes, I can't understand his writing at all. Like it pause and select videos like almost don't mean anything.
There's lots of jargon.
Well, it's not just the jargon, it's just the way he writes is very like weird and circular and kind of ass backwards and fucking confusing. So like that's why I'm inclined to think he might actually be on the other side.
Where the way that he expresses things makes sense to him, and he doesn't bother to try to make it into something that
it seems to make sense to a lot of people, because like a lot of the like academics in the anime community really love his videos, but like I straight can't fucking parse most of his writing.
Well, I mean, like any of the videos that I've ever watched of his, like I understand what he's saying. I just think he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's... I mean, I've never been able to, like, really, like... I haven't watched, like, a ton of his videos, granted, but, like, particularly that one he did that was in live action recently, where it was, like, kind of... I was talking about... For me to understand what the video was about, that as far as I was concerned, the first third of it literally was white noise. Like, I didn't understand what this video was going to be for such a long time. And it makes me think that maybe he's... maybe his thinking makes more sense to people who think more impressionistically, because I don't know. I could be wrong though. Maybe I'm just retarded. Like I don't know if it's that he's so far in one direction or the other that it's hard for me, but like
I think he's just built a cult of personality because he reads books and people want that.
I think the lexicality is kind of compensating for the lack of impressionistic thought that one might have from watching anime, because you're trying to use words to describe a very impressionistic form of media, so trying to translate that back
his interest in the stuff he talks about is in these very vague social ideas and trying to kind of codify things like Sekai-kei.
Yeah, he's very interested in defining those words, so like that's why I would say he's super lexical.
That could be true. It could just be that his word choice is so precise that it's like even I can't am hung up in my impressions of it.
You would probably use different words to describe something in a simpler, cleaner form because you understand. That's less
technical. I do think that when you get to a certain level of being a human calculator, if you are capable of writing jargon, it would be it's that it's difficult to parse because it is so dense, because you understand every word individually.
Yeah,
as
it's
opposed
coded
to
for
the
an
whole
audience
point.
that is interested in knowing at least every word
Yeah.
hyperlexically. Even
Like-
if they don't know every word, I feel like somebody who watches Pause and Select might like look up that word.
It's funny because I've always said that my videos they begin as an impression, and my very first task, like all my videos begin when I have a first impression and I think of one sentence to translate that impression. It's always something like, oh, this show is about X. And then as soon as I have that, like, a more cool sounding sentence than that, but like usually the first sentence of my videos is literally the first sentence I thought, like the first translation of an impression I had, and then all the rest of the words are me just like letting words flow from that to say, okay, if you are impressionistic enough, you should be able to understand me from just that one phrase I said. All of this is just justification, to make it more clear.
Did you read this one, requesting Zaria, Pause and Select, and Craft Dwarf?
I did not read that.
I'm looking at Joe right now, and it's like it occurred to me that everyone with circular rims and a mustache I just automatically look like them. Because like who's that guy? Leon Trotsky. A lot of people say I look like him. It's like I don't. I just have the mustache and the glasses. And then they say Hideaki Anno. I'm like,
oh my god.
Yeah, it's just these two signifiers. That's it.
Robert Sora for €5 says, the new storyteller, Gigic, Jesus Otaku, Adam Neely, Bill Wirtz, CGP
we need
Grey,
to apply some kind
Don
of word
Jolly.
to a singular request. Like,
I mean, they're just on the list. We don't have to do them all.
We spent so much time
Captain
on it.
Christian, Pub Crawl, Cider, Pause and Select is too mega dense.
All right, well, Gigic, thankfully, I already know where I want to put him. I called once upon a time on stage at Toricon, I called Gigic the Naruto of anime YouTubers. And and when I was making my chart and I placed Naruto in the clear-sighted / externalists category, I knew that Gigic also belonged there. But yeah, I mean, he's
not even wrong.
He's definitely I would put him like probably, I mean, first of all, his videos don't make any kind of lexical point at all and are therefore totally uninteresting to me, but they're fun.
How does he present in person, like when you're talking to him? Is it different?
He just comes off as like a pretty like regular guy, basically, like he's very mild-mannered. He definitely seems like somebody who's maybe like somewhat I mean, I would probably put him in like the externalist category in that he seems like he would be a natural introvert, but then like has a side of him that can be the ultimate extrovert, like that, like just magnetic personality that comes from kind of being able to connect with and relate to so many people so easily through your work, but like, maybe some level of inward, self-reflection beyond what might be typical of a regular person. So I'm putting him like primarily in externalists. I think he's pretty lateral, but not so much that it makes his writing interesting.
Yeah. My sister says that our stream is chaotic, and then she wants us to do Penguin Zero, and then we also have a request to do Lost Pause and Nuxtaku.
Okay.
I don't know Nuxtaku or Lost Pause well enough to do
Okay.
This, so.
Yeah.
Not doing
Lost
that.
Pause and Nuxtaku. Okay. All right.
Do you guys know them enough at all to judge
Nope.
them? Who else was the request?
My sister said Penguin
If anything,
Zero.
they're more normie than Gigic.
More normie in which way, though? Like, more...
I was an extra.
More impressionistic normie or more level-headed normie?
Honestly, oh, jeez. Where do you put Gigic? Let me see that.
I put
okay.
him in the, like, towards the middle of externalists, leaning more towards understanding.
Oh,
Might even put him
jeez.
even more towards understanding, honestly.
I haven't watched
definitely a
many
big part of
Lost
his
Pause
work.
videos. I only watched Huxtable because I edited that video for Econ.
I don't know
Oh,
Penguin
jeez.
Zoo either. Penguin Z0.
Critical?
Is that who Penguins
Yeah,
Penguins
that's
with a
him.
Z and then a 0 is?
He made that what was it? The fucking wipe thing. ShamWow, the ShamWow video. That was a popular video back in the day.
Oh my god,
Oh.
he made that? Oh, I know who this is
Yeah.
then. I guess they just have
Yeah.
rebranded.
I mean, just looking
Yeah.
at the channel, I would definitely say impressionistic seems fairly likely.
I mean, he's like a commentary YouTuber now. So there's
What
that.
I'm seeing is videos with names like Zombie Cuck. I tried making sausages and it was a disaster, and he's got puke all over his shirt. Master of Salt, Evolution Perfected.
This is aesthetic as hell.
Yeah.
Wait, does he make the official podcast?
Yeah,
It seems like
is
it's
that
on
who that
there.
is?
Scroll
Yeah, he is
down.
part of the official podcast.
What's that?
A podcast called the Official Podcast.
It's the
Oh,
official
really?
podcast.
Yeah. I only
who
know
else
about
is
it
on it?
because of who are these podcasts?
Who are these podcasts?
Having Kaya from the Official Podcast on their show frequently.
My dad says it's Guizzo, aka
Penguizo.
critical. My dad literally is like, it's critical.
Oh
Oh
no!
my god, when the boomer gets
Ooh.
boomer. Oh my gosh,
The
it's
student
boomers
becomes
all the
the
way
teacher.
down.
Okay, so the new storyteller is absolutely
Such a disappointment.
a far-flung new type, but he also like literally has, I don't know if this is true. I always just thought he was like extremely autistic, but somebody told me that he like actually has brain damage. All I know is that the new storyteller puts out like 8 videos
Why
a
not
day.
both?
He lives in his he's a 30-something-year-old mumbly man. You can barely understand what he says. He dresses up in a Gumby suit and reads children's stories and makes Thomas the Tank Engine stop-motion videos. Like 8 videos a day of a continuing narrative of like all these fictional characters and toys and stuff participating in this like Chris Chan-esque epic. He literally puts out videos fucking constantly. The only reason
is-
he's not like a guy who somebody's like made a lecture on or something is that there's no way you could watch all his content. He is the actual human content machine, and he's been doing it for years and years. But
That's new type as fuck.
he's definitely a new type. Unfortunately, his brain is broken, so it is less of a superpower and more of a crippling problem. But
You can play the piano at least.
Do
Okay.
any of
Apparently, that's
amazing.
his newest video he uploaded.
I don't know if he can play it well, though. If that's the question, that's what we
No,
have to
please.
investigate.
He plays it well enough.
do any of you guys watch Long Beach Griffey?
I do.
I
Okay,
have never heard of him, but you guys can talk about it.
that guy
I'm
is
coming home.
yeah. That guy is definitely impressionist as all fuck.
Do you know Caleb City?
No.
Caleb City and Long Beach Griffey, they probably occupy the same space because the content that they make is so similar in presentation. You know, it's just them filming themselves doing
Yeah.
the skits, basically.
It's I would put Griffey as an aesthetician though, leaning
Okay.
more toward impressionism, and probably like just square in the middle. Because you would probably
Such
get
an ugly ass icon. Fuck.
I know. You would probably get a huge kick out of the videos because they are short. Like they're just comedy skits where he plays every character, and he has stupid half-assed costumes for like all of the different characters.
I feel like I must have seen at least some of these before.
I made
They
a
are-
video using some of his footage before.
Okay.
A long
They
time
are-
ago.
They are all just very poignant like commentaries on stuff that everybody has experienced, but viewed through the lens of somebody who thinks everyone is insane. Like
Sorta.
that is the tone of all of these, is that all of these, like it's just, let me take every single type of person I've ever interacted with take that idea and caricature, make it into a caricature to the maximum level, and then make a comedy skit about it. It is just the most impressionist thing I have ever seen, and it's fantastic. It's super, super funny. Like, he did one about like school shooters that was the funniest shit, of like two school shooters in the same room, like arguing about who gets to like be the best school shooter, and then just the teacher
comes in.
Yeah, the teacher comes in and is just like, oh, fuck this shit, and just like joins them in shooting up the classroom. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Shit was wild. I don't know. I'm a bigger fan of Caleb City, personally.
I'll have to go watch his stuff. Yeah, because I love Griffey's skits, and I just wish there were more of them, because it's so quick, and like I could just consume it instantly. I don't have to like set aside time for it, or like think, all right, time to get down and watch a Griffey video. No, I just put it on and get a good laugh, and
Yeah, that's what I love about those videos, you know. So it's like,
all right, we got some super chats. For $2, the Examine Life of Gaming. Robert Sora for €10 says, watching a Gigic video is what getting railed by a normie feels like. Kinda nice in the moment, kinda demeaning in retrospect. You feel empty afterwards. You forget about it soon after.
And then
or try.
phase.
And then Wild Stag says,
Or try.
Dinkster Daily.
I've never heard of Dinkster Daily.
And Caleb City is way funnier.
He is way funnier, yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to go watch him then, because I need more content like that in my life.
Mm.
I watch too many analysts, man.
There seems to
It
be
is what it is.
Like
It is
a
what it
weird
is.
shadowy giant T on my monitor right now.
What the fuck?
What?
That's the Illuminati.
That's been there for a while.
What is
actually.
that?
What is
definitely
going
some
on?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Digi, I think that's like the window outline.
Hacking to the gate.
That's what I was
It's the window. It's like the outline for like a Photoshop pop-out window.
Is that what that is? Oh, you're right.
What
That is
the
what that
fuck?
is.
Why is that there?
I'm not sure.
Because Photoshop is probably what broke and caused you to think that everything had crashed.
Probably.
Because it's
Alright.
Photoshop, and that's how it works.
Let's see
Exactly.
here. Oh yeah, you had requested that we put this smoking tire guy on here. I've never seen his shit before though.
So Matt Farah is a guy who is the equivalent of a human content machine when it comes to cars. He makes he makes car reviews. He makes videos of just driving the cars so you can just listen to how they sound. And he has a podcast that I think happens 3 times a week. Like, the man is... And he also runs a business where he has been building his own car storage business for, like, exotic cars for people who don't want to, like, have them out but, like, need a place to keep them. Also running that business. The man does everything when it comes to cars.
Oh, I see the T now. Oh shit!
So
What in the world?
It's
the
a Photoshop.
Photoshop layers window.
Oh.
Robert Sora says, listening to Ash Vampire talk evolves the sublet of cringe.
Evokes the subtlest of cringes inside of me. Familiar like listening to Justin Savakis.
the subtlest of what?
Cringes. The subtlest
Oh.
of cringes.
Good.
Baby cringe.
He paid money to say that. He paid us €5 to tell you
And
that.
he also says, oh
Thank you,
god, I
thank you.
don't
5
care
years?
about cars.
Jesus.
All right, so Matt Farah belongs squarely in the analyst category because he has that lateral ability to know just everything about all cars at all times. Like, he's the kind of guy that you can say, hey, this year, this model, this Porsche, how much will I have to pay for it to have one? He will, like that, just know. But he has a very comprehensive way of being able to explain why a car is good outside the technical. So I would say he's just on the edge of human calculator, but mostly in the analyst category.
Okay. Fair enough.
Smoking fire.
Tire. Smoking tire.
Oh, smoking tire. Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes.
You just now getting this.
So this is gonna be a really interesting one. But
Let's hear it.
CGP Grey,
Ooh,
I am going to go ahead and say belongs down in like the bookkeeper's contemplative area.
Bookkeepers.
This is a man who is extremely particular about doing things to the letter. Very, very type A, Tsunemori Akane levels. Nothing in his house. Nothing to clutter his mind. He's obsessed with keeping his mind clear, which is a very linear thinker's way of being. His videos involve months of research to create a very clean, crafted, generally aesthetic, a video with a very general aesthetic that that spends like 6 months of research to make a 5-minute point about like something that you could have looked up on Wikipedia and gotten like 80% of the point, But yeah, I would say that puts him like as far into bookkeepers as a YouTuber can really be, but he's also fucking great. He does his due diligence, very intelligent, obviously. So, just going to represent bookkeepers for the best.
Would you put Down the Rabbit Hole in contemplative?
Ooh.
Probably, yeah, right? He's like he seems like kind of robotic, right? Very
and his videos are all about just explaining a thing that happened.
Yeah, I would say he's contemplative based on that musical instrument video.
Oh, his hurdy-gurdy video.
Yeah, the hurdy-gurdy.
I love that video.
That video is top tier.
Yeah, let's go ahead and grab Down the Rabbit Hole.
Nice call.
And I also think that he's the type of person who, because he is so lexical, is fascinated by this fucking weird shit that these people do.
Exactly. Like his obsession with... Yeah, his obsession with weird stuff, things that almost defy reality, I think definitely puts him there, because his whole existence is based on trying to quantify and like order things that defy explanation from a glance.
Graphics 56 says, Zen, why are you still up, old man? Time to sleep.
Why?
P.S.
Why is
have
Zen
you
the
been
old man? He's like the
stimulated
youngest
yet?
guy here.
Yeah.
It's because I have the most white hair.
I don't even know if that's true. I could give you a run for your money, dude.
Did you? Your hair is longer, so you can hide it better, probably.
Fair point.
It's more that Zen's is all concentrated in one spot, but like my gray hair, like a lot of the front and the sides of my hair have already gone gray, but like it doesn't pick up well in the camera because it's so subtle because it's so spread out. But if you saw me in real life in the light of the sun, you'd be like, oh wow, you are like significantly grayer than I realized.
Yeah, it was a pain.
At least you're not like my dad, who went bald at 25.
Oh, my dad went bald at like 25, so I'm already past that hump, thankfully.
Robert Sora says, Ash, can you identify the car Utena turned into in the compilation? But nevertheless, great addendum to the hit television series out of Japan, Revolutionary Girl Utena. Also, quick, Audi or BMW?
BMW by far.
Oh, there we go.
Let me get a picture of this car, because I am obsessed with cars in anime. I am obsessed with, okay, what does this most look like? What were they trying to get across? I actually had a fascination with Copcraft when it was coming out, because the cars in that show were weirdly specific. Like, they weren't just like generic Japanese car, pick your number. They were hyper detailed to a point I could like look at like the front shot of one of them and be like, that is this car.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you think they maybe took assets from something else?
No, I don't, because there are cars in there, like the Mini Cooper that the main character drives at the beginning definitely looks like, okay, well, everybody knows that car. But the car he gets after it crashes is a very obscure Ferrari that nobody thinks about when they think of Ferrari. Like, it is really like deep cut
It's
show are
car
you talking
stuff.
about?
Copcraft. Copcraft
Oh,
is based off
Copcraft.
of a novel, so I wonder if those details were just like
Oh,
very
yeah, yeah.
heavily
That
like
could
in
be.
the actual novel.
Like he just mentioned, it is this car.
It could be because I mean, Copcraft is from the same guy who did Full Metal Panic and what's it called? The one with the fucking amusement park, Amagi Brilliant Park. I feel like he goes into that kind of detail with like tanks and shit in Full Metal Panic. You know, there's a lot of military equipment in that. So it could just be that he has similar taste to you and what stuff he thinks is cool. I don't know how cool you think military equipment is actually.
It's pretty. My dad is a big aircraft guy, so I know a lot about military aircraft. Just catch that. Also,
But
I'm
you
looking.
ended up on a submarine somehow.
Worst decision of my life. Well, okay, no. Well, that's actually because in the military, in order to fly anything, you have to have a college degree. You have to be an officer.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Killer.
I'd have loved to have flown helicopters, but I wasn't able to do that. I'm looking at this car that Utna, the Utna car that somebody asked for. I'm looking at this. That is called the Batmobile.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
it does kind of look like the Batmobile a little bit.
It's like a weird combination of the Batmobile and the car from Redline that the two magical girls have.
So what you're saying is that it's not based on a real car.
It is absolutely not based on a real car, which is probably for the best because
Son of a bitch, fuck.
there's an unfortunate tendency with car guys is when any car is represented in media of any kind and it does things that said car just factually is not actually capable of doing.
They get anal?
We all have a collective big sigh over like, oh my god, that can't do that.
It's like if you're gonna take the care of putting it in the show as it really is, then
Yes.
accurately represent
yes.
the capabilities of it, right?
That's why for me, that's why I love that's why I love Baby Driver so much, is because every car that is in that show that is shown driving is only shown doing things that it is actually capable of doing because it's all practical.
Right. I still haven't watched Baby Driver.
Oh my god.
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it.
It's so good.
No,
I love
like
it so much.
I like Edgar Wright. I gotta watch it.
So do
I
I.
am in the same boat as you are. I have not seen it yet, but I really need to.
Oh Jesus! Like just the opening scene of Baby Driver alone. Just I think like the first time I saw it, I was just actively jizzing my pants the entire opening sequence
I might as well check it out.
because it's a chase scene inside a bright red Subaru WRX to the tune of what is it? It's an Elvis song. It's so badass. I fucking love it. Just everything about it is. Oh god! If somebody knows the name of that song, go ahead and do feel free to inform me in chat.
Yeah.
Wild Stag for $2 says Tier Zoo would be a good one
Who?
to place.
Tier Zoo.
Who's that?
Definitely Technician. The whole channel. He's a guy who makes videos where he makes tier list arguments for animals, like real animals.
Oh, that is technician. That is hella technician.
He breaks down all their stats, goes into depth. It's pretty much definitionally a technician type video.
It's the animals top trumps cards of YouTube.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Go grab Tier Zoo. Yeah, that one. I don't even watch Tier Zoo, but just in concept alone, it's pretty obvious where that's gonna get placed. Same goes for what's that Pokemon guy? False Swipe Gaming.
Oh yeah.
Where they do the how good was this Pokemon actually, and they just go through the whole competitive history of the Pokemon and just break down like every single fucking just how they've been used throughout every single generation that Pokemon has existed in competitive play. Super technician videos for sure.
Do you guys want to grab Jim Sterling? Because I think that's an interesting
Oh
conversation.
yeah. We were supposed to do him. Somebody suggested him right off the top. Oh my god, these fucking.
Oh no. Toby.
That's why I have my task manager just at the ready for any. Fucking Adobe knows that I have stolen Photoshop, so it keeps trying to get me to buy it, but you can just easily bypass it. Oh shit! I hit cancel.
Oh no.
Dude, why is there so much shit on the screen, like on the left? What is all that?
That is the Brony lecture in the process of being made.
All right.
Okay. So
And now there's a million YouTuber icons.
I'm gonna put false swipe in there too.
Digi, the fact that you keep like file assets on your desktop is giving me like a minor brain aneurysm.
That's the point. I put it there because it makes me so uncomfortable that I have to finish the video in order to clear my desktop. So
okay,
it's a way to force myself to do it.
I get what you're saying, but I'm the kind of guy that when like the way that I make videos is that I have a file folder called video pull images, and then within that folder is a bunch of other folders for things like thumbnails, general logos, and then for every individual video I have a separate folder titled such and such video assets, and then within that folder are folders for just still images, video captures, any audio bits that I need. Like, it is way overcomplicated, but I just can't do it any other way.
I can't I have to constantly move shit off my computer because I make so much content that like I have to delete all the source files immediately to make room for the next thing. So like for me,
what's the size of your hard drive? Your external.
My external is well, I currently am finding my way through a 4 terabyte, but like I'm saying that I have to move my I don't like work off of my external. I work off of my main hard drive and then I move the shit to the external afterwards. So
okay.
So I work in a process of basically like at all times my desktop should be clean. If it's not, that's a problem. And so like it's kind of a way of just being like you can't ignore this project, because if I have it in a folder, I'll ignore it. I'll just like forget about it. I'll think about other shit and I'll never get back to it. But like if it's constantly confronting me every fucking time I look at my computer, then it's like, oh shit, that's right, I still have to edit this fucking Brony lecture. It's been sitting on my desktop for 2 fucking weeks.
Telegramix Arthur says, this might be a bit controversial because he's somewhat of a political figure, but classify Jordan Peterson since he's technically a YouTuber.
Definitely.
And Maxima21 says, Knowledge Hub newer videos especially.
Knowledge Hub?
He's definitely a contemplative, bordering on. Well, no, he's just contemplative. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to putting him just square in the middle, because he's uncompromising about it, and sees the world in clearly definable and explainable terms.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Why is his logo so fucking weird? What the hell is that? Is that really the Jordan Peterson logo? It's like some fuck. I thought he was not about postmodern art. What the fuck is that thing? Maybe there's some kind of ultra fucking calculus depth to it or something.
Yeah, it was made by an algorithm.
Yeah. Okay, who else do we need to do? I did not place Red Letter Media yet.
Grab Jim Sterling.
I'm gonna. Oh yeah. Jim boy, there we go.
Because
right, where do you
who
want
is
to put
all
Jim?
the way a new type?
So the one that's like off the grid.
Yeah, who is that?
That's the
That's
Thomas
the
the Tank Engine guy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
So my instinct is to put Jim in quick-witted. What is yours?
So this one is actually difficult because at first I would just naturally, because he is an analytical type, like that is kind of how his content runs. Yeah. I would tend to say that he is in that general area, but then I think about like all the weird skits, his like wrestling obsession, like just the bizarre visual nature of a lot of his introductory content, or his the way he pokes jabs at people is very bizarre and visually oriented. I'm not sure I'm quite comfortable putting him that far lexical, because to communicate that way, to me, is a little, it's a little more impressionist than I think.
I mean, and I'll say as well, my biggest problem with Jim's videos has always been that he repeats himself ad nauseum. Like, he makes the same point 7 different ways, you know?
I mean, he has explained why he does that. Like, he basically says that as soon as a thing stops being a problem, he'll stop talking about it.
That's not what I mean. I mean within one video. Like,
yeah.
In order to, one paragraph for him is what for me should be one sentence.
I completely agree.
I think that puts him further to the right as well. I'm going to put him in between, like, quick-witted and overseers. Obviously pretty lateral, though not that lateral, going by my view of his content. It's hard for me to really, like, justify my claims towards lateral or not lateral a lot of the time, but, like, it's just a sense. It's kind of like, if you are a very lateral thinker, it's kind of easier for you to tell who else is, I think, you know?
Yeah, the closer you get to the center with someone, like, the closer someone is to the center, the harder it is to actually determine that they do belong there.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I definitely think that Jim Sterling's, like, actual personality is much more in line with the way that I described the Overseers / Shadow Guardians in the original anime video. Like, I would compare him to an Asuka-like character, you know? Somebody who thinks the things he's saying should be obvious, and that he shouldn't have to explain it, you know?
And just, if you go with, like, the original descriptor being Shadow Guardian, like, that descriptor 100% defines, like, how he views himself, I think, in terms of, like, the points that he makes and the things that he finds important to talk about.
I would agree.
Like his obsession with protecting people from predatory gaming practices and the unfounded nature of how business is done in the industry, that's very much a Shadow Guardian type thing to be intensely focused on.
Hamilton Valerio for 10 Canadian says Bennett the Sage, Red Bard, Kenny Lauderdale, Lindsay Ellis, Sideways, finally Kanye West, just because.
Finally Kanye West.
Kanye West
is a new type confirmed.
Oh yeah,
Kanye West said today, literally today, an article came out saying that Kanye West has begun beeping at his friends and saying that words are the lowest form of communication.
Beautiful.
I would put Kanye West almost in new type, but really more in aesthetician. I don't think he is lateral enough to actually be a new type when I think about, like, Bus Driver or, like, some of the other rappers who are fucking really out there in a way that Kanye can't, like... I think when he fully embraces his being out there, he is pretty out there, but he's not making the kind of crazy connections that some of these other guys are.
He's definitely all the way on the wall of impressionist thinking, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not putting him on this YouTuber chart because why would I do that? But
he has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, but he's not a YouTuber. Like,
musicians.
Every fucking rapper could be on this chart in that case.
But... all musicians could be on this chart because all of them have Vivo. Like, come on.
Exactly. I think they are worth putting on the chart because some of those channels are the biggest channels on the platform.
Okay, but they're not YouTubers.
Their music videos are being made to be consumed online.
YouTubers, though. Nobody would call them a YouTuber.
Most music is consumed.
A YouTuber.
Most music is consumed through Spotify, a service specifically designed for just music.
The medium, just the channel is completely designed. I mean, they are designing their media around the channel, so I think it's fair to consider them.
Well, I don't think so, because, like, the thing that Vivo has is, like, music videos and stuff. They are not the ones who put together those.
It's a project. I mean, it'd be difficult to consider them an individual to put on the chart, but I don't know.
For Sideways.
I think you could probably put the Vimeo channels on here and consider them YouTubers. Just based on the power they have on YouTube as a platform.
But that's artificial insemination, though.
That's literally YouTube. Everything is artificially inseminated on YouTube.
No, we fuck YouTube here. Us YouTubers,
they can decide to kick somebody off their platform. So,
well, we get fucked by YouTube. There's nothing artificial.
If somebody is kicked off of YouTube, are they no longer a YouTuber?
Digi, this is somebody who needs to go on here, and I know exactly where. Matt,
hold on.
Matt Pat is the only one who fucks
Oh,
YouTube.
Matt
Everybody else
Pat.
gets fucked.
Wait, put. Do any of you know Sideways?
No.
Yes, the music channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, where would you put him?
I mean, I just put him somewhere. I put him right of Jim Sterling.
Okay. I'm doing
Matt Pat,
that's good for you, right?
Matt Pat I would definitely put in like the
he's just a human calculator. Like
not really.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
He belongs in the quick-witted to understanding range.
Really?
Yeah. Like all the calculating stuff is a means to an end for him.
Yeah, he's an entertainer more than anything. I mean, he's literally a fucking theater kid. Like, but he is. I think the fact that he is capable of being more lexical is what has led him to being so successful. But like, his videos are like mostly fucking memes and jokes, and like the so-called research he does is like not actually thorough the way he makes it seem like it is. Like, people bunk his shit all the time. It's entertainment videos first and foremost, you know.
Okay. I don't know. I just
suggested Chris Ott, by the way.
Ooh, Chris Ott. He's definitely analyst.
And he's back under
Chris
the name
Ott?
Bartley Ride. No, it's Chris Ott, dude.
Chris Ott. Chris Ott is a music journalist who's been around for a very long time. Who
Wow.
he did a series called Shallow Rewards very briefly on YouTube for like a year. That is just phenomenal. It's probably my favorite series of somebody talking about music ever. And as far as I can tell, they're unscripted vlogs, but the man is just able to go. Like, the way he talks, he's like Razor Fist, except less esoteric. And it's just like... I typed Chris Ott, I got a bunch of weird
that
politicians.
That is him,
though. Yeah. Yeah, he eventually decided, fuck YouTube. YouTube is just an ad platform, and that's fucked. So he took all his shit down and disappeared into the void to go do whatever he does. But
what a Chad.
yeah,
Keyblade
he's
Spirit
never really much of a
says
YouTuber. He's more of a traditional journalist.
Vivo as a collective is probably run
put
by
it in.
bookkeepers.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we should put Vivo on
sure.
there. I think there's...
Yeah, we could put Vivo as one channel. That would be funny.
Luna Landing for $5 says, hey, back to Jordan Peterson is super lateral and pretty impressionistic. He's definitely in the overseer fascinator region.
I mean, if you're actually a fan of him who believes that, then I honestly, I could just take him off the list because I doubt any of us like watches him enough to really be able to say.
I actually have. I deep dived Peterson's content. I actually think that he should be in the contemplative category because his whole existence is defined by like putting words to things that are typically understood as feeling.
Right. I mean,
like,
I would think that his platform seems kind of anti-feeling in a way. Like,
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
He
it's
doesn't
all
like
about
postmodernism. I know that.
His whole thing is he is defined by defining things, like saying that there is no reason that you cannot isolate, quantify, and therefore attack any part of yourself in such a way as to improve and get rid of bad things. Like that is his whole game.
I definitely think that, like, generally I think that more linear thinkers or people who are like just above linear thinkers are more likely to be the ones who like want to root things out of their life, like, because it takes up time, you know, like time in their mind to think about these things that are unnecessary. And like, granted, the same is true for, you know, more lateral thinkers. We also need to learn to like prune our minds if we want to be able to think efficiently, but like, you know, there's just not as much of a pressure to like, you know, not waste your thoughts because your thoughts are plentiful and you kind of want to get rid of them in a way.
Yeah, no, I actually put in the Higurashi script that writing a script is in a lot of ways it's like therapy, right? Like you need it in order
absolutely.
You need it in order to because you need that ability to like typing out your thoughts on something is akin to just purging it, is like removing it from yourself. You are taking it out of your head and putting it someplace else so that it doesn't clutter up in there. Because if you don't do that, it's just going to jumble around there until you literally can't take it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, speaking personally, I have powerful memories of moments when I figured out how to put something to words, and like the level of cum I felt. Like when I was when I did my K-On! Loving Thesis video, that whole video was just born out of me watching K-On! And at some moment thinking the phrase, "This is a show that gets better the more of it you watch." And as soon as I thought that, it was the rest of it was all from that. But it was like, when I had that thought, I was so excited about it. I was like, oh my god, I did it. I figured out what's good about K-On! I have to find 1,000 more words to make other people get it, you know? And it was a beautiful process.
I had a similar moment when I was 13. My grandmother had given me her old Windows 95 like CRT monitor piece of shit computer, and the only thing it could really do was run Microsoft Word. And I remember writing out a 400,000 word fiction as I was learning to type. It was slow as hell to get to that point. But the feeling I had when I had completed that story of just like, I took things that were in my mind, that had festered in my mind, these ideas, these characters, and they are now gone and can be seen in their full magnitude. That was indescribable. Like, that was game changing. The fact that you could do that.
Rebel Taxi.
Oh boy.
Suggestion to do Rebel Taxi, Jobby the Hong, Off Canny, Offline TV, and Binging with Babish.
I only know Rebel
Who are
Taxi.
half of these motherfuckers?
Yeah, I know Rebel Taxi, but I don't know if I know him well enough to know how he thinks.
He's just a reviewer. He's probably like he's definitely in the vicinity of Todd.
I'm gonna say that he is very lateral and low IQ, because he's definitely autistic. He's like diagnosed autistic, and
I don't know. I would actually say he's more of an externalist. Because
it's hard for me to say. I mean, like he barely talks. Like, he's very closed off in his podcast, in his own podcast.
Yeah, but Digi, when you were talking about Joe,
I was on it, and not only was I on it, but I listened to another episode in order to talk about it on Who Are These Podcasts to make fun of it. So I've heard 2 episodes, including the one I was on, and it's the worst podcast I've ever heard. That's for sure.
Holy shit.
Well, the reason I say that he might be more of an externalist is simply because when you were talking about Rogan and how his getting slightly into that externalist category is because he is a fame chaser, he's a fame whore.
Mm-hmm.
The way that Rebel Taxi runs the Pizza Party podcast is he wants tons of different people on there. Yeah. Like, it's part of
here's what you have to understand, though. He doesn't get any of the people on there. He actually He actually doesn't give a fuck at all about this podcast. The other guys get all the guests. He doesn't research who they are. He doesn't know who they are when they're on the show. He doesn't know what to ask them. He is totally incompetent at his podcast. And the other people are not much better, but they get the guests for him. So he usually doesn't even know who's on his fucking show. I think he runs it out of a weird sense of obligation to continue. To just have it. Yeah. He doesn't seem to care. He barely talks on it. He's a very strange character. He's also a lolcow. I'm sure that we could learn a lot more from him from Kiwi Farms than we could from his YouTube channel.
He's probably an overseer.
I used to watch his videos.
Not talking on your own podcast. It's an overseer.
I mean, like,
that's
cartoon
good.
reviewers in general are usually a little on the awkward side.
Yeah, well,
it's the Western cartoon reviewer community in particular.
Well, I don't feel comfortable placing him, as I don't know enough about his.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't watched him in years.
But
did you want to on the desktop you have Don Jolly? We haven't put him up there yet.
I did. I actually added.
Okay.
I added some people that we haven't talked about yet. I put Don Jolly just like basically just somewhat more impressionistic and lateral than myself, because I've never talked to somebody who I thinks as much like me as Don Jolly does. Like I've never had such a love at first sight relationship with someone who wasn't a woman before.
I do agree with you putting him farther toward the impressionist side, though, because he seems to have a better sense of what sort of visuals will communicate the tone that he's going for.
Yeah. I think he's a little.
It seems a little less deliberate.
I think it's partly because he works with artists a lot more. Like Don, as opposed to me and yourself, like you were saying how you only like to talk to people who think like you. Don he just loves everyone. Like he's just an insanely nice person, and I think that he's just fascinated by everybody and the way they think. And so like he has such a stable of artists surrounding him that, you know, I think he's learned from some of those people how to be a little bit more aesthetic, but like his aesthetic sensibilities are very slapdash like mine. He kind of has the mentality I do of like anything that looks cool is automatically good, and it doesn't really matter what it is.
Yeah,
you know? So yeah, that's kind of my logic.
It makes sense too that he would be that way, since people like that are far better suited to collating a bunch of different artists into one form. Like
which I've learned that I'm good at too from doing my Kusomega light novel, which has been a lot of fun. I have like 30 artists or so on board for that. But yeah, it's because someone in that category who appreciates aesthetic and can't create it themselves is going to be impressed with everything everyone working for them does. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, you got to change it, you got to make it exactly like this, because you're just like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool. Like, I see what you did here. And that's great, you know?
I saw this comic on Twitter. It's been making the rounds in artists' Twitter. It's basically it's this guy looking at a cake, and the cake is representative of their. And then they're looking at this other person's cake. It's like, oh, that cake is so much more tastier than mine. And then the second panel is this person who's representative of the audience, and they're like, oh, holy shit, 2 cakes. You know?
Yeah.
They just love shit, man.
It's true. It really is.
That is how I feel whenever I've gotten commissions from artists. It's like I try to be as like to not put as much detail as I probably could into what I'm describing for them to create. And then when they give it back, I'm just like, I don't even care if this was originally what I wanted. This is dope.
I have found that my life is constantly benefited by me putting less thought into everything I do. To quote Donald Trump, I have realized it is profound to not be deep. It is deep. The deepest thing is to be shallow, because most people won't appreciate that depth anyway, so don't even fucking bother with it.
We gotta place Jeffree Star.
Okay, but we can do that. I have a bunch of other ones I've put that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, I know. You also have to do Fantano. The people in the chat are spurging out about that a little bit.
All right, don't worry.
And May, you can't have Kizuna AI on your thumbnail without us placing her.
No, we definitely have to do her and H3.
Oh my god, we haven't done anything.
We haven't done Ethan Klein, yeah.
Because I don't. Well, I do. Obviously I can do Fantano, but the other two I do not currently sub.
H3, the icons of YouTube.
We could definitely put them on there based on their reaction to.
Oh, I know them more than I know Ethan more than well enough. I guess I'd have to split them in half. Right?
Do you still watch the podcast?
No, I haven't watched it in a long time. But I was a big fan for a while.
I've never seen an H3 podcast.
I tried listening a couple times, and I literally just wanted to die.
I dropped off pretty early because they're not good interviewers. I don't want to shit on them. Like, you know what?
I enjoyed it early on, largely because there were 2 reasons. One, that they brought on all these YouTubers who up until that point had never done stuff like interviews and like got actual answers. Like when they would brought on like Joey Salads or any of the guys, like the prank people who they had made fun of, all those people were very real about like, yeah, I mean, this is YouTube, it's a job. This is like, of course it's not real, you know, like, which Joey Salads, incidentally, I put in the Fascinators section of my chart on the Dick Show guests. But but like it was like seeing YouTubers kind of unveiled in the early part, and also Post Malone being on the show all the time, because Post Malone is fun and I like him. But
Post Malone is
Oh,
he's a fucking he's
is he not cool anymore? Is he shit now?
no
no,
he's a fucking doll. I love that guy.
Okay, cool.
Post
Good,
Malone.
good.
Post Malone is cool, but Digi, I swear to God, I listen to Hip Hop Nation in my car on the whenever I'm driving.
Mhm.
The number of times that Post Malone's "Wow" comes on, I literally need to put a bullet in my brain. I am so sick and tired of hearing that song, because A, it's not like a good representation of Post Malone, and also it is just a shit song.
Wait, which song?
Wow.
Never heard it.
You don't want to. It's not good, and it's not very. It's definitely not his best work. It's not what should be playing if you want to showcase
you know what
Post
song
Malone.
fucking slaps, dude? Circles. That shit. So good.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
lay in the grass, listen to that song all afternoon.
Yeah, that's the problem. WoW is just a bad song and not representative of a good artist.
That's a shame.
I'm trying to do Anthony Fantano. I definitely think he belongs in the overseers category.
I don't know enough about music to understand a lot of what he like, because he describes things well. Like, I get the sense that he's doing his job well, but I am so musically ignorant that
I would put it this way. Fantano's videos are odd because he's not trying to be one way or the other in terms of like this spectrum that we're kind of looking at. I would say that he himself definitely a very lateral thinker with a very broad view on music as a whole. I don't think he takes as like lateral a look at any one individual album as a fan of that album would, because he kind of blows through stuff. But he just kind of looks at it, compares it to the artist's past work, and tries to find a way to describe this music that usually he has like a sort of a pool of adjectives he tends to pull from.
Oh yeah.
And
for sure.
and each one is just for like basically like a different category of aesthetic. But like honestly, I think that his lexicon would be so much larger if he was more of a lexical thinker. Like, and his interest in music kind of suggests away from that anyways, like the way that the kind of music that he likes is definitely not lexical music. He, in fact, kind of hates like lexical prog music, like the kind I was describing before. He definitely is not unlike myself, somebody who worships the new type, somebody who wants everything to be as weird, as unique, as distinct as possible. But I don't necessarily think I would put him in the analyst category. I don't think that he needs things to be put into words. I think he more uses words as the means to just get people to listen to music he thinks is cool. And so I don't think that first of all, he doesn't actually fully script his videos anyways. He takes like vague notes. And his notes look completely fucking disorganized, just like a list of fucking words, So, yeah, I feel like Overseers, pretty comfortable putting him there. In like right in the middle. I can't even put him in another category.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna believe you on that
feelings one. Like in that Strokes video that he just put out, he was talking about like the song made him. What words did he use?
I was taking a shit. You watched it by yourself.
Just the way he described how the songs made him feel just made it sound like those feelings were the most memorable. Like, the easiest way for him to talk about the music was the feelings that it created, which is a very overseer kind of thing to do. We got another super chat. It says, Robert Sora says, Casey Neistat, Vaush, CWC, and Bill Wurst. We also have to do Andy Worski.
Okay, hold on. Repeat all those again.
Casey Neistat, Vaush, CWC, and Bill Wurst.
Okay, Casey fucking Neistat.
Ooh, boy.
Obviously,
is he clear-sighted?
Very, very linear. He is somebody who is I won't say extremely linear. His editing is not extremely linear, but he is definitely somebody who lives more in the moment. Definitely more on... I'm going to put him in just straight like impressionists, I think. Maybe
Yeah.
no, I'll put him in aestheticians.
You think so? I don't think I think he's more
I don't think
linear.
he's that lateral.
I think he's
I don't think he's that lateral.
Yeah, I mean his aesthetic ideas aren't extremely complex, but he does have a strong sense of aesthetics. I'm gonna put him like just below aestheticians. Definitely pretty far on the right. He's not very good at talking. In fact, he cuts most of his talking. Like, usually he just starts, like, he'll have a section where he obviously went on for a while, and then he just, like, keeps one or two sentences and cuts the rest of it. And I've always found that very interesting. Because my video, that's the main reason I can't do his editing style, is that, like, I literally cannot go on for such a short
What
time
about
and say
him
anything
watching
of
The
worth.
Godfather over and over again while he's working?
That is definitely some fucking impressionistic shit right there. I might even put it. Yeah, I'm gonna put him even lower because like
It
he
just
is
reminds
very
me of
much
something
a, like,
something that Hope
body-connected,
said
living in
that
the
she
moment kinda
did.
guy.
She just like would put movies on over and over again, and I wonder if that's like a similar kind of like.
Well, I was in Hope's case. I thought it was more that because she is more of a technical thinker. It seemed to me like she memorizes the movie in order to be able to like describe it. Like that her ability to memorize the movie is out of like watching it so many times because she noted that she knows the structure of the movie, she knows the timing of when things happen. I think that's a very lexical approach to stuff. Like for me, I remember the time codes of when things happen in anime. Like I can tell you this happens around 8 minutes into episode 13. Like that's my way of remembering how like what happened in a show. I think that's the way she approaches it too.
Remember when I tried to show you that that cut of
Kare
the
Kano
main
and just had to look for it for like an hour.
Yeah, I was, oh my god.
I don't.
Why was that so hard to find?
I don't know.
You're like an idiot.
I don't remember time codes, but it's similar enough. Like because I don't full screen VLC, when I'm watching something, I remember things
Like
based on
where the thing
where
was.
the bar is.
Yeah,
Where's the bar?
Yeah, I just have a strong sense of what that like. I could glance at the bar and see that it's a third and think 8 minutes. You know, like into the episode.
See, I don't think in numbers. Like
just because anime is 24 minutes long. Like I also keep time by way of how long I know songs are. Like any song I like, I know how long it is. So like if let's say want to kill 45 minutes, I will look for a 45-minute album to put on, or like I will say. You know, you'll say, how long ago did we do that? And I'll say, an hour and a half because we just listened to 2 45-minute albums and things like that, you know. It's just
do you know what a what a game changer it was when I realized that in Sony Vegas you can type in the time code to find something, like to instantly jump to it, as opposed to just like rapid scrolling through and like.
I did not know you could do that, but I don't tend to. I don't know. I guess my editing is never complex enough that I have to do that. What I usually do is just zoom out and zoom back in a lot. Like I zoom out, find the spot.
See,
that's why.
Oh, that's interesting because I refuse to do that. I hate anything like. The only times I do that if I need to move large chunks of things. Zoom in.
This makes sense for why I put you as a more detail-oriented thinker than myself on this chart, and I think this is a good indicator of where we break down, because I do like to constantly like recheck the full scale of the project. Like I want to look back at the whole thing. I don't always want to stay down in it. I want to like see how far I am and like mark my progress as I go. You know what I mean?
No, so like I keep it zoomed in to the big box of 1 second markers.
Oh God! Well, you're probably doing more advanced editing if you're doing that, because
it's because I am I hate letting any scene that I'm looking or any image, I don't care what it is, I hate it when that shit sits there longer than maybe 5 seconds. Like, and that's partly because the way I write my scripts is being very dense, where I try to use very precise words that mean a lot and that I can say within, like, I use a lot of like 5-syllable words a lot of the time. And I'll even take like basic words that are, shorter normally and then just add suffixes and prefixes onto them to better communicate.
Yeah. Make them cooler words.
Yeah. Like to
just
right? To figure out like a more particular way to describe something using that particular lexicon.
No, I've made up a lot of words in my videos too.
Yeah, right.
I
but
gotta
the way
take a piss.
Okay.
Let's figure out another YouTuber to talk about that you guys know. I've put on this list. I have added Captain Christian, Red Bard, Kenny Lauderdale, Cider from the Pub Crawl. Do any of you? And Josh Wiseman. Do you guys know
what
any
about
of those?
Eddie Burback and Nakey Jakey?
I know about them.
You guys can talk about Nakey Jakey. I don't know Nakey Jakey's content.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Nakey Jakey.
While I go to the bathroom.
My Nakey Jakey heart.
I've watched like one Nakey Jakey video.
Yeah.
It's really.
What do you think about it?
Yeah,
Me?
go ahead. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I mean, I would say that he's sort of impressionistic, right? Just from his editing style, but
Oh, definitely impressionistic, yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting because if you watch like the full breadth of his content, like if you've been following him a while, you see this like weird struggle. Like there is very clearly this internal struggle. Like I definitely think he wants to be more lexical and he just can't do it, and it haunts him at night. I have this. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I relate to that.
Zen, like if you've seen like
I get I sort of get abstractly what you're saying, but I don't see it in the visuals of what he's presenting. You know?
No, because that's the point.
I think that he's a really like. Did you watch the Red Dead video where he was talking about
one of his best ones?
Yeah, when he was talking about the Lego shit.
Yeah,
I was like, that's great. That's great visual representation. So
yeah, absolutely. But like, I have this sense, just based on the amount that he talks about, like the way his career has gone. Like he has gone on record a lot of times talking about his perception of his own success, like his style of his videos, like what people want, what people like. He is definitely somebody who wants to tap into a particular audience that his content is just not really ever going to be able to capture because he's so impressionistic.
What audience are you thinking of? Like which audience?
The
does
more
a
analytical
YouTuber have, yeah.
The more analytical types.
Like
I think like just the way that he talks about, like in that Red Dead video, you can get this very clear sense that he wants to gravitate and capture this audience of people who enjoy things that are more analytical, that are more, deep dives into why mechanics matter and like what they do and like how they translate into a particular experience in a game. But just the way his brain works, he is too impressionistic to be able to accurately get to that point. But you can tell he wants to be there.
If this is Nakey Jakey, from what very little I've seen of him, agreed with the placement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just put him straight in the impressionist section.
I'm not gonna fight it.
Is that where was there an argument going on about it before?
No. We were pretty much sucking each other's dicks about.
You gotta do Epicurious.
How our opinions were the same.
Yeah. Did you just?
How can I do Epicurious? It's like 50 fucking.
That's
people.
fine. I mean, it obviously is like the director's vision of what the channel should be.
I mean, it would just be straight.
I think you should put it on there, so it would.
Okay,
no, I think it would be like I think it'd be more clear-sighted because cooking in itself is more of an impressionist art.
You know what? I'm gonna put it right in the middle because I think that's the point. I think the point of it is to both show you in a fun.
No, I think if it was more, lexical, it'd be more. The recipes they were giving you would be more step by step. But the recipes
are very step by step.
No, it's kind of like you can go in whatever direction you want. Like they show you 100 different ways to cut something. It's like you can cut it any of these ways. 4 levels of cooking.
Because
you can do any dish in a very creative style.
Yeah, because I was watching this video. I think it was like on Vice or something. No, it wasn't Vice. One of those fucking channels. There was this guy who was making omu rice. This Japanese guy making omu rice, like how his parents made it. He's a professional cook, and the way that he dived
into the process was so much more in depth than how Babish does it. So yeah, Babish definitely makes an effort to be more accessible.
Oh, are we talking about binging
Or
with
like
Babish?
easy to
Where
parse at least.
Where are we putting him then?
Are we talking about Babish?
We're
We were talking about Epicurious, but we can
never
talk
mind.
about Babish.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know who Epicurious is, but I was talking
yeah.
about Babish.
Epicurious is like a publication more or less, but they do those like 4 levels of macaroni where it'll be like beginner chef, intermediate, expert, and food scientist. And then they'll have like 50 people try to cut a watermelon, and a bunch of people fuck up, but then a bunch of people get it right, and you go, oh, here's how you actually do it at the end. So it's like, it's very much meant to be like a teaching tool of like, everybody can cook, you know? Like, that's kind of the attitude of it.
Digi, do you want to have one that is really easy to place and that you could just throw into the top corner of new type?
Sure.
How to basic.
Oh yeah. Actually, I would put that in pure instinct. I think that is just a berserker rampage more so than anything. I don't think there's any lateral thought going on. I mean, maybe like the weirder, like the videos where they get more like, fucking experimental and shit. Like I'm thinking of early How to Basic when it was just chaos.
Well, I mean,
like.
I'm thinking of it in the sense of, in order to make that video, to make those videos, you have to have such a like clear understanding of like the progression before it happens. Like you have to be kind of thinking about where everything needs.
You know, I would say that about like I would say this is a channel that evolved over time, because like my conception of How to Basic is from like 8 years ago when it was just a guy slapping eggs on shit. Like it was just like in the beginning it was just retarded, and then eventually it became this weird like aesthetic nightmare scape or something.
It can't have been 8 years.
I mean, either way, it is in one of those corners. Like it is either high new type, super impressionist, or high pure instinct.
God, everything is crashing again.
No.
I was gonna look up how many years it's been since How to Basic came into existence.
Well, your browser's crashing?
It just did, but I brought it back. Let's see. Date added oldest. 8 years ago.
No,
I doubt I was here for these extremely early ones though, because they seem very even more rugged and short. They're like 15 seconds long.
I definitely wasn't
watching like 2015.
Yeah, I definitely. But I mean, the nice thing about How to Basic is the fact that you can, because of the nature of the content, you can just go back and watch the first one and it's still funny.
Yeah, no, it'll never be dated.
Yeah, well, and that's the fun part about, I think. Tell me if you think differently. That I think is one of the biggest strengths of impressionist art, is just by nature of the fact that it is very much tied to aesthetic and feeling. And
yeah, it's information that's not going to change as soon as new information
comes
out.
It's rather timeless in terms of how it, because of the way it is communicated, it's not really going to age the way a lexical piece will.
I am inclined to agree. I'm currently downloading all the Red Letter Media guys individually, so I can fucking add them onto this.
Does Plinkett get his own spot?
Plinkett is just counted as Mike. He does not get his own spot. Mike is obviously a technician. I don't think I could put him anywhere else. He is fairly lexical about what he likes. He calls himself a structure guy, but he's obviously extremely lateral. His ability to like pull fucking Star Trek quotes and exact episode numbers from the void is pretty impressive. I might even put him like up close to human calculators.
Yeah, I agree.
Because his ability to make those long leap connections is literally the definition of lateral.
That honestly is part of
on like the layer above everything.
Oh, it's just, I don't know. Everything's on weird layers. Yeah, in this
it's just really funny.
I think that Mike's encyclopedic knowledge of film in general is part of why Red Letter Media is able to be successful. Because in order to talk about something that has such an extensive history, if you want to be intelligent about it, you kind of need to have that.
Jay, on the other hand, I'm gonna go ahead and say is somewhere in. I kind of want to put him right on like the corner between overseers, fascinators, new types, and aestheticians. Like he's super in that cluster somewhere.
Yeah, I would agree with like that general range.
He's definitely Mike's Tard Wrangler.
I'm gonna say
for sure.
I'm gonna say he's like as lateral as you are.
Yeah,
he reminds me of you
fine.
in a way.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's true.
By the way, I also put up here, and we didn't talk about. Do any of you guys know Joshua Wiseman?
Nope.
I've heard the name.
He's another cooking guy. He's a younger, newer guy, who Zen. He actually kind of similar energy to you, except California boy. But I put him in the new type leading towards aesthetician category because he's like 22, I think. He's gotten up to like 2 million subs doing these high energy, very what's the word? Very zoomer cooking videos. But like I think he's legitimately a fucking genius. Like a genius level. He like wrote a fucking cookbook when he was like 17.
Yeah.
He's had like sponsorships
shit.
and shit. The recipes he has in his videos are insanely advanced. Like his nickname is the King of Extra because he will go out of his way to make it the best possible way it can be made, and he's constantly like reinventing recipes and stuff. But he also he talks just like Munchie, that like nonstop like. So when you get to the swing, you're going to have to want to open up the thing, and then you're going to want to open it up, and then that's going to be, the package is going to have to be 450 degrees Fahrenheit, you know, like that, just belting the words out like they literally are not, and you can't like, put them out fast enough, you know.
And never getting tongue-tied while doing it.
Well, he sounds like shit. I mean, like,
oh, really?
Like, you can barely, like, much like with Munchie, it's so slurred together that you have to really concentrate to actually parse what the fuck he's saying.
Wild Stag for $5 says, early Kizuna Ai is different from modern Kizuna Ai. Also, it's still taking suggestions, a super normie one, Philip DeFranco.
Ooh.
Philip DeFranco probably goes
I'd put him, like, level-headed.
Yeah, that's
level-headed
right.
for sure.
You used to be a Philly D watcher, so I'm sure.
Yeah, I used to watch Philly D every day when I was in like high school.
I still watch him every day.
I know a lot of people
the ads? Do you just skip over them, or?
Yeah, skip them, duh.
The ads aren't the most insufferable
it's a very
part
active
of this content.
watching viewing experience. I can't believe we're still actually live somehow. When everything else keeps crashing all over the place.
Yeah, it's weird.
Right,
Don't
so
jinx
Philly
it.
D. You guys both agree he belongs in level-headed. What side? More to the left or right?
I'd put him more to the right. I don't think
Yeah,
he's
for
super lexical. We also have to put Jeffree Star in there.
Where are we putting?
I am putting Jeffree Star and Fascinator.
That sounds exactly.
Fascinator, definitely.
Correct to me.
I know nothing about his videos. I only know like of him, like as he exists in like the common culture, and I have zero.
I'd put him
with that.
I'd put him close to new type, maybe a little higher. No, I think that's actually probably fair. Okay. Yeah, that's a good place.
Okay. Who else have I added that we haven't talked about yet? Red Bard, anime YouTuber.
Red Bard's there.
But we didn't talk about her. I added a bunch of people that we haven't talked about yet. Red Bard, I put in the level-headed area just because that just is the vibe I get from her content. Like
she just talks about like obscure shit, sort of, right? Or what?
Her stuff is very just explanatory. Like there's not a lot of like analytical side to it. It's just kind of like explaining things that happen in like anime fandom history in pretty plain terms.
Right.
There's some jokes, there's some stuff, but like it's pretty straightforward. I would say like the intrigue of her videos comes entirely in the subject matters that she chooses to cover, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Kenny Lauderdale, I put in straight bookkeepers because he just seems like a very straightforward type who thinks that something being incorrect is funny.
Yeah. Based on his last video, what was that anime?
The one about, I don't fucking remember what it was called.
Oh my gosh.
The bad anime that he didn't like or did, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Oh boy.
What were you saying, Zen? I feel like I cut you off.
It was some shit about
I watched one video by Red Bart about fucking the JoJo character who's the mangaka. That was it.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that. I've only seen her talk about. I only really get interested when she talks about like stuff to do with old like mid 2000s anime culture because I was around for a lot of it, and it's kind of like, oh, now I know why yaoi paddles were a thing, you know, like.
Right, right.
I need to probably watch some of this stuff because I'm the type of person that deliberately ignores a lot of otaku anime culture.
I mean,
I just hate her fucking profile picture. I hate it.
Oh, it's not great. I mean,
I
she has that avatar in the videos, so you know.
Yeah, she has as a thumbnail.
Ugh. I've gone ahead and put Rich Evans from Red Letter Media in the technician / contemplative kind of area. He's definitely not as lateral as Mike, but I think he's a similar type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe actually I think I might put him more closer towards. He is very much a technician type. Like, I mean, I've watched a lot of his game reviews and stuff, and like, you know, he definitely is more of like the type who wants things to be like clear rule sets. You know, he's into like spreadsheet type games, if you will.
Ooh.
Although he also, I mean, he loves like roguelikes and stuff, but I don't know if he plays them the same way as Well, I'm thinking about it. Because it's not like he's hyper lexical either. It's not like he's that good at actually explaining himself. Where do I think Rich Evans belongs? I've never been inside Rich Evans' mind, really. Like, I'm thinking about the video games he likes. The way he talks about stuff. Oh, fuck. This is hard. Maybe he's more of an esthetician than he lets on. Because, like, when I think about how he plays video games, like, he's obsessed with, like, you know, those kind of twitchy, fast, like, making decisions quickly on the fly, lateral thinking, but, like, fast. You know, and like more felt in the controls.
Like having the thought, doing the thought, getting rid of the thought, moving on to next thought.
Right. I think that's more Rich Evans' way. So I think, and I mean, he's not that lateral, but maybe I'd put him like, and he, you know, people love, like, I'm tempted to consider him somewhat of an externalist because people fucking love him for no reason. Like, people just think Rich Evans is like automatically fun, just as a matter of course. So maybe I'll put him somewhere around like this area where Egoraptor is. I'm gonna say he occupies a similar cultural space to Egoraptor. I think that's fair to say.
That's fair. Yeah.
I've also put Captain Christian over there. I forgot to mention him. His videos are definitely very aesthetically driven. You know, like, I mean, they're videos that would not be watchable if not for the aesthetic that is on them. Like, not to say that the information's not good, but the information of his videos is, like, fairly pedestrian in terms of, like, if you already know this. Like, he's mostly just telling you the history of something. It's not, like, super analytical or anything. It's mostly a very aesthetic, wet presentation of, like, the history of a cool thing people love, you know?
Yeah. If you were to place Kizuna AI, that I don't think there's any question that is very impressionist.
Yeah, I think she's probably. Well, somebody said that there was a difference between older Kizuna AI and newer Kizuna AI, so I don't know if that would like make.
It's still impressionist.
She seems kind of pure instinct to me.
I would put her closer to pure instinct, but like still impressionist.
She's definitely pure instinct, and I think that it would be fair to say that all VTubers are going to be farther toward the impressionist side than the lexical side.
It seems likely
because the idea is to only define them, like, I mean, outside the context.
Similar.
Can we do Andy Worski?
Yeah, I had to go grab him.
Oh
He's pure instinct.
Yes, pure instinct. I knew it.
and Andy Worski is a berserker in real life.
Oh my gosh.
Stay the fuck back! I don't know if you guys have any idea who Andy Worski is.
I've heard the name. I've never seen any of his content.
I don't even know if he has content, honestly. I think he does a podcast show, but he's mostly just known for being a drunk, insane person, I think.
Oh, that is definitely pure instinct.
And for yelling, stay the fuck back!
Oh, snap. It's not
It does
him.
not have an icon.
Oh, is that really true?
I think so, because it had like 300,000 subs.
Just use a picture of him.
Okay.
Nobody will know that's Andy Worski.
Do we have
Is
any,
it possible?
Oh my word.
Do you think it's possible to put somebody on here who has never themselves been a part of their content?
Oh, cool.
Terminal Montage, the animator.
I wouldn't know personally, but if you think you know.
Terminal Montage is the guy who does the really, really funny speed run animations. Like he did, he basically. Oh, if they're hysterical. The idea is that he takes all of like the actions that are performed by speedrunners and then proceeds to create a really dorky looking animation that's actually like super fluid and really well done, and to sort of put that to what does this look like if it's not inside the context of speedrunning. So like for example, have you ever watched like a Breath of the Wild speedrun?
Sure.
I've watched the incredible one where the guy fucking does it in like half an hour.
Yeah, okay. That's perfect, because that's what the terminal montage animation is based on, right? So you know that thing that they do in those speed runs where they get insane air off of like shield bouncing off of an enemy's head,
Right.
Yeah.
right? He basically makes that into just a recurring joke in the animation, where like he lands on like he'll like linger on the frame of the enemy just like getting hit and then just like keeling over and dying like half a second after Link has like departed the frame. Like it's just goofy shit.
I think I'm gonna have to see that to completely visualize what you're talking about.
I will link it to you afterward, because it's very much worth it. But this way, because speed running is a very lexical thing, period. To be able to understand the rule sets of a game to such a degree as to just utterly destroy them and I think it's actually pretty linear as well. Just because
I don't know that it's necessarily lexical, because you could just like feel it out. Like you don't have to literally know the numbers to be able to you know.
No, but I mean, you watch any GDQ and the way that it like. They have couches there for the express purpose of breaking down in hyper exact detail how something works. Because a lot of these things, in order to be performed repetitively, you can't just feel them out. Like there are certain conditions that have to be met that you have to understand exactly in order to then actually perform them. Because then there's no way to really understand what conditions you need to meet over and over and over again to get the same result every single time. I think that terminal montage is a very interesting thing because it takes something that is highly lexical and just turns really funny impressionist type thing. So I would actually put it because there is no explanation offered. It's just this really goofy looking thing that just shows you what happens in a speed run in an animatic format that makes it more appealing than having to listen to.
Why is Ela so low?
So low in the
linear.
I just have never gotten the impression from her that she was like a super lateral thinker, but I it's kind of difficult because she's not that talkative.
She's not much of a talker, yeah. Right?
But she does seem very like understanding and level-headed. Like those seem like words that I would apply to her in general. So that's herself all the time. Right. I don't know. She might be more lateral than I'm giving her credit for, but it's really hard for me to say based on like what talking.
I don't think you're too far off though. I don't think she would be extremely lateral.
Where did you want me to put this guy? High esthetician?
Yeah. For sure. Because to be able to break down something that is as lexical and linear as that, and to put it into like an impressionistic perspective, which animation I think by design is impressionistic.
Oh, by the way, I'm Lemon. put him on there.
Oh
Ooh,
yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Lemon, my boy. I think he's gonna have to go into the border between like analyst and fascinator, somewhere down in like the overseer. He might be between like a fascinator and an overseer, somewhere in that general range. I think he's definitely more of an aesthetic thinker than I am, but like not by a ton.
Do explain, because I've seen just enough of Lemon to kind of understand what you're getting at.
I mean, he was a YouTube pooper.
He is a YouTube
But
pooper.
I would put that farther to the right than that.
Well, the thing is that he doesn't do YouTube poops anymore because he's gotten so into doing analysis videos. Like, what he does, like, he clearly loves to fucking talk, and he's great at it. He's great at explaining stuff, but it's like, he puts way more into the editing than he does into, like, his script is good, but his editing is incredible. And, like,
Right.
I really consider that to be someone who's more in the fascinator category, where it's like, they're not necessarily struggling to write. They might be even better at the other elements of it, but it's not like it's not like they're dyslexic, which, like, if you're all the way on the right, you should be considered outright dyslexic. That is, like, what I consider to be, like, the far right wall. So, like, obviously, Zen, I don't know how dyslexic you consider yourself, but I've put you pretty close to the far right wall. I don't know if you actually have trouble reading for real, but I don't hear anybody anymore.
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Zen, you still there?
Maybe not.
Maybe
Zen died.
You also gotta do Medicare,
Let me
dude.
fucking restart Discord real quick. Let's see if that helps. Oh yeah, we do gotta do Medicare.
Gotta do Medicare. I had another person in my mind too that I wanted to do.
Alright, we're all still listening. Ash, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you still.
Zen, are you there? Maybe he went away. Maybe he went to the bathroom. Just so happened that I was asking him a question right at that moment.
He just dropped out of the call.
He must have had to go do something. Alright, so Lemon I'm putting up here in this dyslexic to any degree.
Long texts. I'll literally just read the first two sentences of a paragraph, and then I'll move to the next paragraph.
Okay, well, then I have placed you exactly where you belong, then.
Digi, does it make somebody more lexical, or not lexical? Does it? Oh, yeah, actually, does it make somebody more lexical if the stuff they enjoy reading is longer?
I don't know if it has to do with the length as the way that it's written. Like, I would have to imagine that somebody who is a very impressionistic person who gets into reading will be into the more elaborate prose. Like lots of setting detail, lots of imagery, lots of sensory detail, and like that's the stuff that I convinced myself I couldn't be a fiction writer for a long time because I thought that stuff was necessary. That like that is what writing is sensory detail, and like I don't relate to that shit. Like both when reading and when writing, I tend to just like come up blank on that because I just don't. That kind of stuff doesn't leave as much of an impression on me as like conversations I have and ideas I share,
Yeah. Well, the reason I bring that up is because the stuff that I have read that I've been into has always been longer stuff. So like I am way into like old books like Count of Monte Cristo or any of Lovecraft's work, any of
Lovecraft stories are always short though.
But you string them together though. Like Lovecraft makes a lot more sense if you read his stuff back to back.
Interesting.
Because there is like a. Have you ever read Lovecraft?
I've read some of it.
Is it like a universe or what?
Yeah, well, it is a connected universe, but that's not how it's. That's not how it's perceived while you're reading it. It's just this. You get this very interesting like sensory progression as you go through his stuff where things become more complex, more bizarre, and just more interesting because you have this larger context behind all of it that you can see this weird progression. I don't even know upon what axis of storytelling that it actually occurs on, but it's definitely there. I hate stuff that's like short stories or anything that tries to make its point succinctly in terms of fiction. Like it's really, really difficult for me in terms of it, like with anime, to get into like OVAs and like really short stuff. I need it to be long. I need it to be a little bit more meaty.
I think that really has to do more with the lateral side than it does with the
Okay.
lexical side, because I think that more lateral thinkers, again, like in order to occupy the amount of thinking that you have, you need to be able to pour over something. And I think that anywhere on this scale, the more lateral thinkers are going to be the ones who are interested in franchises, who are interested in meta, who are interested in like the whole genre instead of just shows within the genre, you know? Like
Yeah.
they care more about the superstructure. And like even for me, I have always something that I don't want to say bothered me, but like I've always felt almost a complex about is that I have never felt nearly as powerfully about my favorite things as other people seem to feel about theirs. Like I care a lot about having a cultivated list of my favorites, but they are so fluid, so likely to change out. Like there's no one show that I love so much that it's like protected, because I've just never felt that powerful of a connection to a singular anime that it was like above everything else. You know, it's like they're all interesting to me because they're anime, because they fit into the superstructure of anime. And like some of them individually have a lot more to chew on and are a lot more interesting and will take a lot more processing to fully appreciate. But nonetheless, like, you know, eventually it will run dry. And it's like, it's almost like I want to save some elements, you know, like shows I do love. I don't want to completely analyze it to death.
Say that because the way I approach my favorite things is I want to be able to, at any given point, if someone asks me a thing about a show, if it is one of my favorites, I don't care what the question is. I don't care if I've heard it before. I don't care how the question has been phrased. I want to be able to immediately pop off like a long-winded explanation of what it is they're asking about.
It's
like
I could totally see what the appeal of that is. I guess maybe because of the fact that when I was a kid, I was constantly trying to tell people about the shit I cared about and was almost exclusively blown off and told to shut up, that I just kind of beat that part of me down and looked at it as cringe. So
I think because growing up, my family was very poor, so the things that we were able to care about were very few. Like we didn't have a lot, so I wasn't able to expand out into having a lot of different things to care about.
That makes sense.
So the things that I do care about, I want to care about to the complete and utter degree that there is no question that must be your favorite because you know literally everything about it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was like that when I was a kid, because I used to track my life in terms of obsessions, and it went from like I was obsessed with Beast Wars when I was like, well, first I was obsessed with Power Rangers when I was 3. Then I was obsessed with Beast Wars. But then like once I became like a preteen, once I discovered anime, I did not get into anime by way of discovering a show. I got into anime by way of discovering anime as a concept, as like this is like I had a magazine and it was like, this is what anime is. This is where you can find it. Here are some classics. Here's like information about shows, most of which I'd never heard of. And like reading that magazine is what got me into anime. So to me, anime has always been this broad superstructure of art that all has to do with one another. That is not, and like when you actually study anime, it's way more integrated than you first think because it's so incestuous. There's so few people making it, you know? So like learning all that meta actually does have a meaningful impact on your understanding of the shows, just because it's like, oh, this guy worked on it, and you know these two worked on this show previously.
Ishigori's entire career and like how that paints this picture of like this is why this is the way it is. Like understanding that like that level of minutia, going back that far, and understanding not only like like what is observable about the show, but being able to take completely like supposedly what most people I think would look at as irrelevant information and being able to say no, that actually has a lot of relevance to this other thing that we're talking about.
All right, I'm trying to place H3. All I can think is to put him smack in the middle of externalists. I feel like
for sure.
I feel like that's the epitome of who he is. Like just a guy who is his own. He is his persona. entirely.
And lives for that persona to be viewed by anyone and everyone.
Yeah, yeah, he's a fucking pop diva in the only profession where someone like him could be a pop diva, YouTube. Like,
yeah,
the only person where a
Right.
fat bearded guy can turn into a pop idol.
You think so?
Well, where else could it happen? I mean, currently,
No.
currently.
In terms of,
I think
I
there's.
mean, maybe in Asia or something. Well, they don't grow beards as easily, but you know, there are some fat bearded guys in kung fu movies.
It's true.
Anyway,
yes, kung fu movies, the harbinger of culture from Asia.
yeah.
yes, indeed.
I have run out of YouTubers. We need more.
Items.
More
do you wanna-
YouTubers.
Items.
Ooh, iDubbbz, yes,
iDubbbz.
yes.
I
Also Eddie Burback.
Sure.
'Cause
Write down these names. Super Eye Patch Wolf.
Oh, dude.
Vosh.
Ooh.
constantly crashing on me. I might have to like restart the stream in order to like be able to continue.
Oh boy.
Because everything is fucked.
If you have to do that,
Everything
we
is
should
crashing
end it.
constantly. You
It's
think
already
so?
it's already almost 4 hours.
All right. We could
do a
maybe
part
do a part 2 at some point. Yeah. Any other YouTubers anybody needs? Let me just
yeah,
go
we
ahead.
could
We already
expand
downloaded
this.
iDubbbz, so let's throw him. This is iDubbbz's avatar.
Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea. It's been it forever. I think it just he doesn't want to change it because his brand is associated with it.
I'm gonna say, based on his video about him being a cuck, he seemed like very like word-driven kind. Like he legitimately doesn't understand why anybody has a problem with being a cuckold, and I don't know. That to me puts him in like the technician category. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Wait, I don't hear them. Oh no, I can't hear you guys
Oh
anymore.
God, no.
Wait, let me try disconnect and reconnect. Oh shit. Oh, now we can't go. Are we there?
Hey,
You can hear me?
Yeah, no, there you go, there you
Oh,
go.
So you
Jesus
heard all
Christ.
my suggestions, right?
I had
He
heard.
said eye patch, Vouch.
Well, oh, can you guys not hear us for like a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Oh,
like a
shit.
solid
What the
30, 40 seconds.
Everything is crashing on the computer, so we're talking about just ending it here because like we can't go on. Everything's fucking crashing.
All
But
right,
we were
let's-
gonna
let's-
place iDubbbz real quick before we go. I was putting him in the technicians category, maybe quick-witted technicians area. But what do you guys think?
I would say
Um,
quick-witted, he definitely needs to be bordering on, if not a little bit more than, like, a little less than halfway.
Okay.
How come quick-witted?
Because the way that he frames a lot of his content is very punchy.
Uh-huh.
It's not solely designed to communicate information. It's as much about that as it is about making fun in the sharpest way possible, but not lingering on it because he still ostensibly has a point to make.
Yeah, I feel that.
All right. Well, we're
Ooh.
gonna leave it at this for now. Maybe we'll do a part 2 of this at some point in the future if we can find enough YouTubers that deserve to be added.
I mean, we
I
can
think
definitely
we
find
could
enough
go
YouTubers.
on.
Yeah. Well, obviously we can.
A
but,
long
like,
time.
If we can find enough that we
There's
actually
like barely
go,
any females on this list.
because we've hardly even like we've been doing a lot of requests and stuff. We've barely dove into like my actual subscriptions. Like there's tons of guys I can still add.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I
me
know.
neither. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, apologies
That's
to
that.
anybody who's not getting their chats read right now because literally everything's crashed and we
there's-
can't see
there's-
anything.
I don't think there's any super chats. Anybody have anything to plug? I know Ash's Darling in the Franks video is now actually viewable
Woo!
without
Very
having to
much.
torrent it for a
Very
week.
nice. Yeah, so just go to Ash Vampire on YouTube and then check
The most recent video has a link to the library.io page, as well as a link to the Frank's video on library.io.
I'll go watch that tomorrow because I gotta go to bed. I'm tired, man.
Also,
I hope you set aside 3 hours, my guy.
This
Yeah,
was
I
a lot of
have.
fun, though. This is all my life has been since having this idea. Is me just like thinking about people and where I'd put them on my fucking chart. It legitimately makes it a lot easier for me to interact with people when I think about their neurotype and like why
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
struggling to understand them. You know.
it completely
Are we even
contextualizes almost
streaming?
everything.
Because YouTube is
Yeah, it makes it easier. It does the
I think
darn
we're still
thing.
streaming.
Yeah, you're still streaming.
Okay, go into the stream. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious how much we made in super chats.
Oh, will
If
it
you
tell
could
in
check
here?
that, yeah.
$164. So
Very
Excellent.
nice.
pretty fucking good.
Thank you for all your lovely donations, our
Oh,
friends.
by the way, yeah, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Zen Huxtable. I'm going to be uploading animations there. I should have one by the end of the month. And then I have another, like, anthological short animation I'm going to have by the end of next month. I'm just going to be banging them out because I have a lot of free time because of Corona. So,
Hype.
be on the lookout.
Hype.
Be on the lookout. Very
Um,
excited.
May, do you wanna plug the thing that's gonna be going down on stream
Oh,
on
fuck
Saturday?
yes!
I just found out that Chris Ott is back as under the
Bartley
name Bartley
Ride.
Ride and has a bunch of hour and 50-minute podcasts. So I'm gonna listen to those
Oh, yeah.
probably
Jesus.
immediately. They
All
all came
right.
out like a week ago.
Back to
Nice.
what Ash was saying. On this Saturday, we will be hosting Ash's lecture on Bionicle here on this stream. So, what time do you want to do this at?
It's going to be long. I would say we need to be prepared for at least 5 hours.
All right, so like normally our weekend streams are late, so we should probably do it earlier.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like maybe
Yeah.
4 or 5 Eastern.
Okay, let's do it at 5.
Okay. I can get down. with
5
that.
o'clock on Saturday. I will definitely tweet about it. I will notify people in this Discord server.
How many people do you want to be in your audience?
As many as want to be. It is going to be interactive. We will be playing a drinking game.
Oh fuck yeah! We should set up like a Google Hangouts. I think you can do streams through Google Hangouts.
Well, the way that I wanted to set it up, I'll discuss the technicalities with you. I am not going to be able to hear you during the stream because I don't want to have anything like on my person that's like connected to anything.
Wait, how are you going to answer questions from people if you can't hear them?
I'm gonna have my buddy, who is going to be present so that he can hand me things and be my communication device with May and the rest of the stream.
So is somebody gonna? How are people
We
gonna
might
raise
have
their
to
hands for
okay.
him to
In my
select?
class, you can like raise your hand in the live stream, and then you can like switch to your live stream. So we could probably get it to be like somebody would have to raise their
figuring
hand.
that shit.
No,
Yeah.
we can figure out something like that, but I think there's a way
Yeah.
you could probably make it make sense.
We'll figure it out.
You
but
have to super chat to fucking ask a question.
there will be a drinking game. Feel free to bow out at any point because it's gonna get nuts.
Excellent.
Excellent. And also it will be fully visualized because I have almost every single Bionicle ever made, and they are currently all built. So anytime I bring up a character, I will do my best to show that character on screen.
Amazing.
You will not be wondering what
Will
the
I be
fuck
able
I'm
to
talking
tell
about.
them apart though?
Yes, you will, because
That's racist.
Yeah, they are all color coded and have very distinct looks, especially because I'm going to be going in not chronological but release order. So you'll be able to actually see the actual progression of the model style over time, and as well as learn about the lore. It's gonna be great. I also do have a big ass whiteboard, real lecture style, so it's gonna be fun, and I'm gonna make an ass of myself for sure.
Life.
Amazing. Well, do you want to do a sign off?
Oh,
Thank
one
you
more
all
thing.
for
Sorry. One more thing. Have you guys heard of DaVinci Resolve?
No.
Your brother, Digi, your brother actually told me about it. It's a color grading program. That's literally all it is. It's a free program. You can color grade with it, and it's really intuitive.
That sounds fucking great.
That sounds sick.
Yeah, that's all.
I'll look into it. All right.
Nice.
Thanks everybody for joining us. It's getting late. It's almost midnight. I hope you learned something about yourself as well as other YouTubers. Overseers rule. That's all.
All right, well, I am now going to end this stream by way of completely shutting down my computer, as that seems to be the only way that I can get these programs to actually close.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. That's that. Peace, y'all.
Good stream, everybody. Have a good
Yes,
night,
indeed.
guys.
You too.